Tonight on Countdown to Green, we take a look back at all the late race drama from Talladega. We take a look ahead to tonight's Coca-Cola 160 at Charlotte. We take a look at how you're racing at home. All that and more tonight on Countdown to Green.
Hello everyone and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. We are going to Charlotte tonight and I'm your host Camille Salazar-Hadaway. Joining me as always we have Blake McCandless and Alan Cavana. How are you two doing?
Oh, it's going great. I was just down at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Uptown Charlotte, just reminding us of what's to come later this year when we crown a champion. Also a reminder, Blake, the races are in Charlotte this week for the Cup Series and everything, and we are racing at Charlotte tonight here in the Coke Series. It feels like a home race.
It really does. Again, you think about the area, there's so many race teams that are opening up their race shops, and I guess you could say the airspeed in terms of 2311. But yeah, a lot of going on around this area. You just had the All-Star race in North Wilkesboro, and now we get to come here to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Longest race of the season for these eNASCAR stars to settle it out for 160 laps. It's going to be a fun one.
I feel like you're really feeling at home, Alan, because I just picture you being in Charlotte, living there. You're just like, you know what? Let me just take a gander down the NASCAR Hall of Fame. You're so lucky. We wish you were you. We'll have to wait till the hopefully the end of the year where we get to go back there for the championship. But you know what? Last race was pretty big for some of us. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But for now, why don't you two take us through what happened at Talladega?
Well, yeah, this is Talladega Super Speedway, Alan. This was an opportunity race for so many of these drivers, and for the large part of this race, it was 50, 60 laps, 3 wide, everybody going all out, and we saw some incredible displays, including this save here by Nick Ottinger. There were a lot of close calls here that these drivers were able to handle.
Yeah, but it wouldn't stand forever. Of course not, Blake. And when we saw these wrecks, when they would happen big. There was another one that wasn't too bad, but then once we start getting into where the pit strategy would come in, then the 3x3, it can only last so long, especially at the front of the field. Some good saves, but when we started getting these crashes right here, Blake, that's when the season started to change for some of these drivers. We thought a lot of these drivers could win, and then it all went the wrong way for a lot of them.
Yeah, you could see kind of as the race unfolded, it was that Ryan Doucette wreck that kind of set things off, put us towards overtime and green-white checkered territory. And at the very end, it was close when this last wreck happened, but at the end of it all, it was Dylan Duval who ends a years-long drought to head to victory lane once again.
Yeah, and look, some might say that's the hard part, right? Getting the victory. But for me, guys like Dylan Duval, it's the hard part's only starting right now. Look at right there, the 23 and the 7 car, Keegan Leahy, Malik Ray. These are 3 drivers with wins. That win only gets you in the playoffs if you are in the top 20. Keegan, Malik, they're outside the top 20 right now. Their wins aren't counting for them. And Dylan Duval is only 8 points to the good. So that's going to be a race in and of itself, a race among winners. To stay in the top 20 and have that win count toward their playoff, you got to stay playoff eligible, Blake.
And they have to do that tonight at Charlotte to try and get that ship righted. My thought coming from this race, and really it's something that's been building up over the last couple of races, last couple of years, you could really say, is being able to execute in these late race, high pressure situations. You see here Colin Bowden looking to go to victory lane for the first time, Daniel Falkingham as well. How many times, time and time again, do we see these races come down to late race restarts? And with so much that's on the line, you have to keep your bearings about you. You have to know exactly how to plan for this, how to get your track position, and the moves you're going to be able to make. It's not something that you can really prepare for to know how you're going to react in those moments, but being able to execute in late race situations is key to winning in this series. And that's going to be true whether we're at Talladega, Charlotte, like we are tonight. Doesn't matter. It is all about executing when it matters the most. And some of these drivers have been able to do that this year. Steven Wilson's been able to do it twice. Zielinski got his win at Brands Hatch a couple of races ago. But Wyatt Tinsley, Dylan Duval, by the way, Tinsley back in the top 20. You were talking about those drivers who were just on their way out, Alan. Tinsley and Duval just sitting, 7 or 8 points ahead of 21st in the standings right now for their win to count. You can see a lot of drivers who are relying on those points to get in right now, but so close for our winners. And of course, you mentioned Malik Ray, a couple other drivers, Keegan Leahy, their wins aren't working for them right now. So we take a look at this, the Segment 2 standings. Again, $3,000 on the line, 5 playoff points for whoever can win this segment. There's a couple races left to go. We talked about Zielinski, Tucker Minter, who's been strong in a number of these races, even Ryan Luzis, who's had some pretty strong runs here in Segment 2. But a lot on the line for these guys, some extra money, some extra playoff points that will be so crucial to carry into the first round of the playoffs, Alan.
And we can't forget about the bragging rights, the trophy, and the money in the team standings. William Byron Esports still ahead, but TK Esports, Tony Kanaan hoping for a great run in Indy this weekend as he's coaching Kyle Larson over there. But his team is up 2 spots in the team standings. You go down a little further, Joe Gibbs Racing jumped up there as well. The Kansas City Pioneers jumped themselves into the top 10. On the other side of the board, hey, you got to look up and down for Oxygen Esports, 2311 up 1, and then you get way down at the end. Hey, still some time. Pittsburgh Knights, Letard Esports, you got some time. You got to start winning, though.
It's going to have to happen quickly as we take a look here at the rest of the remaining schedule here in the regular season. Again, halfway through this regular season, if you can already believe that. Just 2 races left here in Segment 2 with the standings that we were just looking at a moment ago. Before we get into Segment 3, in a very wild Segment 3, Iowa, which we haven't been to in a very long time in this series, Nashville Super Speedway, the Chicago Street Course. So much to happen before we eventually get to the playoffs and crowning a champion at Homestead Miami Speedway. But just a couple of races for these drivers to try and gain those extra playoff points here in Segment 2. Charlotte and then Darlington, another great track to settle a segment title at.
Blake, I can't believe you said we're halfway through the series. How is time flying by so quickly? And there's been so much that's happening and so much more to come as well. But taking a look at some of the previous races in our series over its legacy, that it's built here, we're going to take a look at the segment that we like to call the Vault, specifically from a moment from 2012 where Ray Alfala made it to 2-time. Let's take a look.
Fresh off his first title in 2011, Ray Alfala was not slowing down as the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series entered its 3rd year in 2012. While the 2010 champion Richard Tallard would step away from the scene, Alfala still competed against a full suite of series frontrunners, such as Brad Davies, John Gorlinski, Steve Sheehan, and Brian Schoenberg. However, 2012 brought some new faces into the fold, as well as some familiar ones from sim racing's past. One of those familiar names was NR 2003 legend Kevin King, who made his way up the ranks to challenge some of his familiar foes from the DMP days. King won 2 races that season, at Dover and Homestead, finishing 3rd in the points. Meanwhile, 2 younger drivers, some 14-year-old named Michael Conti and a 17-year-old named Nick Ottinger, were entering the highest level of oval sim racing for the first time. Ottinger won in his very first start at Phoenix, from the pole by the way, collecting a 2nd win that year at Charlotte to finish 4th in the points. Conti, meanwhile, led the points for multiple weeks, finally getting that elusive first win in lucky race number 13 at New Hampshire. Conti finished 2nd in the standings, but once again, the championship belonged to the man we know today as 4-time, as Ray Alfala picked up his 2nd championship in a row after finishing 5th at Homestead. And that's been a look back at one of the most memorable moments over the last 14 seasons of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series.
And again, great there to see 4-time still being able to get it done back there in 2012. There's something about that era of iRacing that was just so incredible to watch. Seeing the car of tomorrow and everything, really, really difficult car to drive. Cool to see these moments come back.
I can't believe what I heard. 14-year-old rookie Michael Conti, and now he's already retired from our series. Like, makes you feel kind of old when you hear it and you put it like that.
Hey, well, Sim, you could start at any age, right? And very young as well. So we love to see that as well. Alan, we got some work to do in the Sim. You know, we got to put in some work so we could retire young.
Well, right. Michael Conti, he's already had his career. He's already on that Social Security, the Social Security.
Yeah, we're going to get into the series, and then we're going to retire at 18, right, Alan?
Can't wait.
Don't check us on those ages, but instead, why don't we check out your rigs at home, because it is time for the Logitech Show Us Your Rigs. This is where we get that sneak peek about your setup, and this one is brought to you by Logitech, of course. And we have here, our first rig is from Scott Wallace.
Yeah, you know, there's something about, I don't know, there's something about, we have started to see a lot of car seats, which, I mean, I guess that's somewhat fitting here from Scott, but another passenger vehicle missing a seat here on Logitech Show Us Your Rig segment. Got some good V3 pedals and everything. Nice, simple triple monitor setup.
I love it. Look at this one, AJ Stevens. Look at the pig. Who does that mean? Of course you think Steven Wilson, a fan, maybe Steven Wilson fan. Wood paneling. We've seen a lot of wood paneling as well as these car seats, Blake. But no, there are car speakers mounted in the paneling. You know, I don't see many cables, so maybe great cable management there. A lot of tripods, a lot going on there in a wooden rig, you know, stuff like that, custom built. Always fun to see what people come up with.
He's got the IndyCar queued up at Talladega, too. That's a scary thought. Got to be going fast there if you're going to be able to do that. But, of course, we have to come over here to another common rig, I would say, the Logitech wheel. Very simple. Reminds me of my setup. Of course, you got your best friend right there that you can sim race with. He's half throttle down the straightaway in the Skip Barber, and yet he's got his friend next to him, too. It doesn't get better than that.
Absolutely, and our next one is from Christopher Allen as well. Ooh, this is actually a nice compact setup.
Yeah, nice, simple, very antique desk. I mean, this is kind of the opposite of what we were seeing, but just showing you anybody can go iRacing. I don't know how much comfort there is for that chair. Yeah, Rock Band, Guitar Hero, pretty old school. I see a Jeff Gordon car. I'll forgive you, Christopher Allen, but hey, you're here, you're with us. I love it. Look at this. Wow.
Wow, lots of blue and little hints of even countdown to green in there. This one coming from Greg.
Yeah, this is kind of a multi-use rig, I would say here. You can put the wheel down, you're able to game a little bit. You got Discord there on the right. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be just a sim ring that you use, but you got the webcam, you got the lighting setup there is aesthetically very nice.
Oh, look at this
one. Another friend. I mean, that's a pro, just showing you just anybody can do this, right? No, everybody. I have my dog sitting right next to me here as we do this. This is really nice, though. From Louise, you could see just the nice setup, beautiful on the desk, nice cactus on top of the PC there. I don't know if that's a guitar amp or, I mean, they got some killer sound in there to really get the realism going there, but just beautiful lighting. Good stuff here.
All right, and our next one, look at our series. Actually, Parker, he actually celebrated his birthday early this month, and this is a beautiful cake from his mom. Aww.
She's in the chat right now, so Trisha, hello if you're watching. I'm sure you are, but well done on the birthday cake too. I mean, that no details spared. You got the car, you got the number font on the 18 right there. I mean, that's pretty incredible. So happy birthday there, Parker.
Trisha, I feel like we need Trisha to do a cake for championship. I'm just putting it out there. All right, producers, I hope you're hearing that. But again, you can show us your rigs by just sending it through our socials, tagging us at eNASCARGG, as well as at iRacing, using the hashtag eNASCAR, because we want to see your rigs right here on the show. Now, we also like to see other people, like Alan, I love you guys, but let's mix it up a bit, because Alan, you actually have Oxygen Esports president and co-founder.
Yeah, Murphy Vanderveld, he stopped by. We were able to ask him some questions and get to know these teams, right? Who is responsible for bringing these teams to our series? And we talked with Murphy. And first thing we asked him, what is Oxygen Esports?
Yeah, Oxygen Esports is the largest esports organization headquartered in the Northeast of the United States. We are proudly born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. We are the license holder for all Activision Blizzard titles in the region. So we're the owners of the Boston Breach, the former owners of the Boston Uprising. We also have 4 other teams competing under the moniker Oxygen Esports in eNASCAR, in Rocket League, in Valorant, and in Rainbow Six Siege as well.
And there's a lot of cool, unique aspects to Oxygen Esports, including the unique home for the Helix Esports facility. So we asked him, where exactly is this located? Great answer.
Yeah, so our headquarters now is at Gillette Stadium, where we have our flagship open to the public training facility and entertainment venue. The reason being, in late 2021, we took our legacy Oxygen Esports business and merged with Craft Sports Entertainment to take on the Boston Uprising and expand into the Call of Duty League with the Boston Breach. And so we are proudly partnered with the Crafts, and thus being down by Gillette Stadium, it adds a whole lot of fun, and it adds a lot of dynamism to our training facility, to our location, and it really legitimizes esports by being next to one of the most iconic venues in all of sports. To have your players come in every day and see the aura of Tom Brady and the amazing run of the last 20 years of the New England Patriots really motivates the guys. And so again, our partnership with the Crafts has had us down in Gillette Stadium ever since we completed the transaction in December of 2021.
That's really cool, merging all this stuff with the New England Patriots and all the legacy they have, even though I am a Bills fan. I won't hold that against Murphy there, but we did ask him what brought all that talent, all that background, what brought him to the Coke Series?
Well, first, Ray Smith over at eNASCAR was unbelievable in conveying the program to us. And I think when we look at expanding into titles, the first is there an audience? And of course, I'm always a little bit skeptical of sports titles or sports sim titles coming into the esports scene, because if I want to watch Anthony Edwards, I'm going to watch Anthony Edwards and Jason Tatum in real life. But what I think is really super unique about iRacing and eNASCAR in particular is that while some of the stakes of the physical calamities of crashes are maybe removed, the mechanisms and the mechanics of racing and the mechanics of racing these sims very much mimic what's going on in a cockpit. So I think there's a ton of transferability, and thus that comes the excitement in the fans as well. Again, if you're watching someone drive a car live versus driving a car in an eNASCAR cockpit, it doesn't look all that different. And so I think there's a huge transferability of the massive fan base of NASCAR and racing in general into eNASCAR. So the first is there's a huge fan base. Second is, does the publisher and the developer want to support the ecosystem and allow the teams to participate in the upside? And that's a resounding yes from iRacing all the way down to eNASCAR. There's programs in place to help offset the cost of joining. There's huge support on the broadcast. Again, you guys take a lot of care in what you guys are doing with the space. There's ability for companies who want to invest in the space to bring their brand partners, such as Coke Zero being a huge partner of ours. And so there's the ability to work with the publishers and the developers to monetize in a fan-friendly, mutually beneficial way is a huge piece, and you guys have rolled out the red carpet, so that's another big piece for us as well.
He mentioned the sponsors and all the cool stuff that comes along with that, including the paint schemes that we always see. So we asked him, where did the design for Femi's car come from, one of their drivers?
Yeah, the design for Femi's car originated, and this is kind of a cool story tying in the Oxygen brand as a whole, but it's actually based off of the design that we had on our in-game decal for our Rocket League car. Again, another automotive-based title, again, not related to, but a game that we compete and invest heavily in. It ties into a partner of ours, Gamertech, which is creating a heating and a cooling glove for gamers to help them with carpal tunnel and other wrist and joint related issues. And the concept was a fire and ice. And so we took some of our branding colors and tried to create this cool fire and ice feel. It worked really well in the Rocket League car. And we thought, how cool would it be having a whole portfolio and a wider portfolio of games to tie our automotive titles, being a Rocket League car and our eNASCAR series car, let's tie it together, and thus it was born. So you'll actually see a ton of continuity between the two designs.
And we love seeing that continuity. It's just so cool to learn more about these teams. We're going a live look at practice here at Charlotte. There's one of the schemes he was talking about. There's Femi out there practicing, a Northeastern guy for a Northeastern team. And the more we learn about these teams, how unique some of them are, not necessarily associated with racing at first, but how they're brought in and over to the iRacing eNASCAR side. I love hearing these backstories, guys.
Yeah, you gotta love it. It's, from an esports background and just seeing now esports really fully invested in the sim, it's love it. It's amazing.
Again, there's a lot of good-looking cars. That Windy Chevrolet for Zach Novak, man, that's a scheme that's going to be hard to miss later on tonight. Again, this is practice going on right now. They'll have qualifying here in just a couple of moments to kind of get ready for that before we set the grid. But going through their last few paces here at Charlotte Motor Speedway is, why don't we go ahead and take a look at the track that these drivers will be tackling tonight here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's a pretty popular one. If you sign up for an iRacing account, this is a free track that comes with the subscription, so just about any iRacer is familiar with it. But if you're not, located in Concord, North Carolina, of course, mile and a half, 24 degrees of banking in the turns of a racetrack that is going to widen out significantly over the course of this race. It is a little narrower off of turns 3 and 4. Really tightens up, narrows out the racing groove in turn 4. But again, is a unique racetrack that has become a staple in NASCAR racing. And of course, it was Tucker Minter that won last year, but we'll give you Zach Novak to take you around this track.
What's up, everybody? Zach Novak here, driver the number 5 Logan's Roadhouse and Coca-Cola Zero Sugar Chevrolet for Oxygen Esports. Here's a couple laps around Charlotte. So coming to start the race, you'll see basically everybody trying to jockey for position on the bottom. That's where you're going to save your tires the best, but at the same time, with that being a thing and everybody kind of trying to force their way to the bottom, you'll have some guys just trying to take advantage of that and get as many positions as possible and use this middle lane, which has a lot of grip, especially on the long run when the tires start to fade away a little bit. You'll see a lot of people kind of searching around the whole racetrack trying to find the best spot for grip and where their car handles the best. So right here, I'll try and stick it all the way up on the wall, which I also anticipate will have a little bit of which I anticipate will have a lot of people trying to make it work and trying to get this top line to really generate the momentum that it does in real life as well. This track's super abrasive, very, very bumpy, has a good bit of tire wear, and this white line down here, this white and blue painted line, has just so much grip. As soon as you put your left front on it, it pretty much turns itself. Very, very, very important to take advantage of if you're trying to run the bottom and save your tires. So right there, I got a little tight on entry, but I kind of just waited for it and let it go back down to it. That's a few laps around Charlotte. Appreciate you guys watching and enjoy the race.
And enjoyeth the race we will, longest race we have in front of us. So you know what, Alan, why don't you take us through what are some of the trends that we see with Charlotte?
Yeah, Charlotte, they call it the cookie cutter tracks. This is the original cookie, if you will, that all the other cookie cutter tracks are based off of. It's the 16th eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series race at Charlotte. In 2010, there was actually 2 races at Charlotte in round 8 and round 18 of that season. So this is a staple of the schedule. 4 drivers have earned their first win at Charlotte. Hansen back in 2014, all the way to just a few years ago, Colin Keister in 2020. So first win could happen tonight. And there was a Keister in that 17 car. Only one driver has ever won twice at Charlotte. Mr. Champ, the big timer, Ray Alfalla, won in 2017, and then again a few years later in 2021 in that 51 car. So he's got some experience here. Back at it again. We'll see what he can do. Only a third of Charlotte winners led the most laps in the race. And no one has done it since Colin Keister in that 17 car. He ran away with that race when he did it in his first win. So leading the most laps doesn't really always lead to victory, but in that year it did. Only 3 Charlotte winners have started outside the top 10, but get this, only 2 drivers have won from the pole. So you don't want to start too far back, but maybe you don't want to start from the pole. It's all in what you believe in the numbers, but qualifying important, of course, at Charlotte. So those are some of the things you have to know if you're running Charlotte tonight. I don't know how much you believe in the numbers, Camille, but we just look at them for what they are and then hope maybe you can bust some of the trends if you need to.
Well, I do believe in the numbers, specifically.
Oh, no.
our picks.
I set you up, didn't I?
You did. I couldn't even take that away. I had to pick it up. But yeah, let's get to our driver picks because these are our points. And of course, you see I'm leading.
Good job. Talladega was kind to you.
It was very kind. Honestly, you two, I was in a slump, but thank you for your miscalculations, as Blake likes to call it. But let's get to who you're picking for Charlotte. Blake, let's start off with you.
All right, well, Colin Bowden let me down last race at Talladega, but Alan brought up a great point. There have been 4 drivers that have won their first race here at Charlotte. I'm going with the 5th tonight. This driver's been fast. I like the fact that this is a longer race. I think Breyer has great racecraft. That's going to play well for a 160-lap race, so I'm taking Breyer LaPrade. Gets his first eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series win tonight at Charlotte.
Not bad, not bad. Look, I have to get some points back, so I'm going kind of steady Eddie down the middle. I would like a win, but who better to pick than Nick Ottinger? Guaranteed to get me a good finish, possibly even a win at Charlotte. A win is what I need because 1 week can turn it around. You proved that, Camille.
All right, well, you are right. 1 week can turn around, and I'm going with a little bit of a, not as safe choice. I'm going with Tucker Minter, who, is going to bring it home for me, and I will be laughing next race as we review our points. Oh, and wait a second. Our producer just is coming in and saying that Minter is our pole sitter, so...
Oh, jeez.
All 2 of them have won before.
Yes, if you listen to trends like Blake did.
Paid attention.
You never know.
That is true. You've been paying attention to the trends. All right, well, with that, you know what? I want to get someone else's take on who they think is going to take Charlotte. We have Ryan Vargas, no stranger to the show, who will be joining Evan and Blake tonight. Ryan, how are you doing?
Unmute, Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go. We got you.
Be back in the booth tonight. Great to be hanging out with you guys. Always great to be working the Coke broadcast with you guys. And no, Charlotte's one of my favorite tracks, both on the sim and in real life. So I'm sure we're in for a very exciting race.
Any guesses, teases who you think?
Man, I'm going to go with consistency here, not just because I also talked to him in pre-race, but I'm going to go with my boy Vicente Salas. He's been very strong all season, sitting P2 in the driver's standings, and he's just looking to have consistent runs all throughout the season. So I'm going with my boy Vicente.
All right, well, we got to love it. You were recently in Italy. How was that?
Man, racing in the NASCAR Euro Series overseas in Europe, it's such a crazy, crazy experience getting to go over there and be a part of such an incredible series where it brings NASCAR stock car racing to markets that you never really would expect. We drove through the town square just outside of Rome, which is crazy to see a stock car driving through those historic towns. So really neat experience and just enjoying every minute of it.
All right. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us. And we will see Ryan as the race starts along with Evan and Blake. So from all of us here at Countdown to Green, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
What does fearless look like? Like sliding through a glimmer of daylight? Like trading paint with a champion? Like starting in the back of the pack? Stopping at nothing till everyone is choking on your dust. What does fearless look like? Find out for yourself. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition. Make it your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
is the make or break moment.
Oh my goodness!
Not just for the day, but for the years to come. This is where a race isn't just about the race. It's about the doors it can open.
That kid is amazing.
The number of fans wearing your number. This is the chance to carve your name into the history books. This is the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
I believe in something that I can't explain. The wind is calling out my name. Let it rain on me. You know I put in the hours, and I'm not gonna wait in line. I'm gonna take what's mine for the world to see. You gotta take the lead. You gotta feel the fire. So I see, and I still believe. You gotta take the lead. Take the lead, take the lead, take the lead.
The road to $500,000 heads to NASCAR's backyard for the longest race of the season. We're from iRacing's virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. We say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to round 8 of the 2024 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. This is the Coca-Cola 160. And as always, happy that you're spending your Tuesday night with us here on iRacing Live. We're alongside myself, Evan Pasoko. Happy to be joined, as always, by Blake McCandless. And Ryan Vargas is back in the eNASCAR booth with us. But Blake, I'll go to you first on this one. We are now past halfway through the regular season. This race may be a little bit longer than most this year, but I think the bigger storyline is we're starting to run out of weeks if you're without a win.
Well, and not only that, you have to make sure you're in the top 20 if you do have one of those wins. We have a number of drivers who can drastically change the playoff picture if they're able to get enough points. Malik Ray, Keegan Leahy, that are going to take some spots away from some drivers who are looking to get in on points right now. So halfway home through the regular season, no better time than now to try and turn it around, especially at a race that is long. And if you have speed, you have a lot of opportunity to prove it.
To say as well that because this race is long, that is still a fair point, Ryan. We have seen a couple of races so far this year have some strategy involved. That could be the case tonight. The fact that this race is longer than most means we may see something that we haven't seen yet this year.
Absolutely. And I think also a thing to watch is just the way the lanes change. You know, we talked about at the beginning of the race, the beginning of the broadcast, how everybody's going to be fighting for the bottom. Everybody's going to want to go down there and try and save that tire. But as the rubber lays down and the temperatures go up, you're going to see some guys experiment with some different lanes. And remember, this race is 160 laps, 240 miles, almost the length of an Xfinity race, really. So it's going to be interesting to see what teams play, what teams' strategies, what all they do. Are they going to come soon? Are they going to come early? Are they going to stretch? Who knows?
And we can consider this kind of the unofficial start to one of the best weeks in racing. So before we get things underway, let's go down trackside and hand things off to tonight's Grand Marshal. It is USO Senior Regional Communications Manager, Barry Morris.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Barry Morris. I'm the Senior Regional Communications Manager for the USO right here in the Southeast region. And just what an honor it is for me to be here tonight, as the drivers get ready to set to take on the race. This is a semi-dream of mine. It's not every day you get invited to be a Grand Marshal, but it certainly is an honor to represent the USO and to be a part of the great sport that is NASCAR. NASCAR, the USO, and Coca-Cola have shared a wonderful relationship for so many years. And this week in particular is very important and special because, Memorial Day weekend is coming up and another big race, you may have heard of it, happening Sunday. And it's just a time for us to really honor, reflect, and just, pay tribute to those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. So drivers, without further ado, drivers, start your engines!
Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. Something tells me there's going to be a lot of red, white, and blue in the field tonight. On pole for the first time this season, it is Tucker Minter in the William Byron Esports number 97. He'll be alongside Bobby Zelensky, already a race winner this season, and Joe Gibbs Racing number 18. Row number 2, it is defending series champion, the M80 number 10 of Steven Wilson, and the Junior Motorsports number 8 car of Caden Honeycutt. On row number 3, Parker White, the Williams Esports number 53 car, going to be alongside the BS Competition 89 of Garrett Lowe. Back on row 4, it is the second of the Williams Esports entries, this time the 51 of Donovan Strauss, and the other William Byron Esports Chevrolet, that one the number 25 of Nick Ottinger. And on row 5 through your top 10, the Spire Motorsports 77 of Casey Kerwin, and the Tony Kanani Sports number 11 car of Vicente Salas.
Starting 11th in row 6, his best start of the season is Tyler Gary for eRacer, along with Malik Ray, who took pole last week at Talladega for Spire Motorsports, looking to get in the top 20 for his win. By the way, speaking of winners, how about Dylan Duvall? First win in a couple of years for Nitro Circus. He'll start 13th tonight from Charlotte, with Daniel Falkingham, who had a shot late in that race for JGR. He'll go from the 14th starting spot tonight. Ryan Doucette will roll off 15th for the Pittsburgh Knights, looking to make up some spots in the team standings, along with the former winner here at Charlotte for Tony Kanaan. It's Colin Keister from the 16th spot. 17th tonight will be the former series champion Ryan Luza for M80. Rolling off 18th for BS Plus competition, Jordy Lopez looking to turn his season around, along with Wyatt Tinsley for the Kansas City Pioneers in 19th, and Derek Bordeaux in the number 34 will start from 20th.
That takes us halfway home to row number 11, where you'll see the Junior Motorsports number 88 car of Briar LaPrade. He is joined by the Front Row Motorsports 38 of Michael Cozy Jr. Row number 12, it is the Kevin Harvick Incorporated 29 of Jimmy Mullis, and the Latardi Sports 36 of Kwame Scott. Lucky row 13, it's the RFK Racing 17 of Colin Bowden, and Travis Pastrada's Nitro Circus Sim Racing Team's 99 of Matthew Zawak. Row 14, it is the FGRXLE Racing 14 of Seth the Merchant, and the E-Racer 69 of Ray Alfala. In 29th and 30th on the grid tonight, inside is the 2311 Racing 45 of Michael Guest, and on the outside, the Oxygen Esports 5, that is Zach Novak.
Starting 31st tonight, we saw his save at Talladega. That is Timothy Holmes for RFK Racing. Garrett Maines, should be interesting to watch him drive through the field. I think he's going to be able to do it tonight. He'll have to do so from 32nd for FGR Excel. 33rd tonight for Team Dillon Esports, it's Jonathan Delaney and Matt Busa for KHI. Been fast here and a former winner here at Charlotte. He's going to have to go from 34th tonight. Keegan Leahy will start from 35th for 2311, along with Dylan Alt, and the rest of these drivers, I believe, did not put down a time in qualifying tonight. 37th for Taylor Hurst for Team Dillon Esports, along with Cody Bias will start from 38th for the Pittsburgh Knights. Graham Bolin and Femi Olot for Kansas City Pioneers, and Oxygen Esports will round out our 40 card field tonight.
It's a look top to bottom at our Coca-Cola starting grid. Well, it's William Byron Esports on top of the team championship coming into tonight, and one of their very own is on pole. Ryan Vargas is dialed up with Tucker Minter.
Tucker, you're picking off right where you left off here. You won the race last season. What's it going to take to go back-to-back this year?
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be one of the most dynamic races we have this year. Got a pretty hot track, a long race. I think we're going to have a lot of comers and goers with short run versus long run setups. I think just starting up front puts us ahead of the curve, so hopefully we are able to maintain some track position to be there at the end.
Absolutely. You mentioned it. You hit on it there. It's the longest race of the season. Do you think that that's going to come into play with your strategy, or do you think it's going to be important to come in early, or maybe even try and gamble a little bit, see what you can play with?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, obviously I hope we have one or at least one green flag pit stop, but especially when you have track position, it makes you nervous that somebody's going to crash coming to pit road, or even leaving pit road is really tricky in these cars at this track. So I think green flag cycles are going to be super important. Hopefully we're on the right side of them and don't get trapped.
Sounds good. Well, we'll be coming to green here soon. Good luck tonight and have fun.
Thanks, Ryan. Have a good one.
That race right in here last season, one of 3 he had on the season as he made it to the championship 4. Blake, let's take a look at the longest oval race this year. It's the eNASCAR race analysis.
Again, as you mentioned, the talking point, longest race of the season, 160 laps, 240 miles. And as you mentioned, would be about the length of a NASCAR Xfinity Series race that'll be running here on Saturday afternoon. Pit road speed, you're going to have to get down to about 45 miles an hour. And this is a tough pit road to get on because you have to pit essentially from the racing groove at the bottom of turns 3 and 4. Depending on how much time you lose, there are 4 sets of tires available. Again, that is not a lot for a 160 lap race, so how you conserve those tires going to be pretty crucial here. Again, that includes the set that they have on the race cars right now. And that fuel window, you can stretch it until about 65 laps from what I ran earlier. Can probably go a little bit further than that, being in the draft and the fact that we have a very hot racetrack. You can see some of the heat in the background of this shot right here. It's hot. You're going to be out of the throttle a little bit more.
Subheader all of this is that tonight, the penultimate race of segment number 2 on the season, $3,000 and some critical playoff points going to be dished out after our next race next week at Darlington. So yes, big picture, looking for wins, looking for points to get to the postseason. But even if you've already got a race win this year, a lot of valuable stuff on the line here in segment number 2. Pace car going to be down at infield in the hands of Tucker Minter. We're happy that you're with us on the iRacing Sports Network for race number 8 of the season. Let's go racing from Charlotte. Big shot to the outside. Caden Honeycutt took it from low on the outside of the racetrack, but they are nose to nose in the battle for the race lead. Maybe 3 wide for a moment. The 97 Takara Minter finds the lead off of turn 2.
And now starts the chess match, right? We heard from Zach Novak before this race started on how quickly these drivers are going to try to migrate to the bottom, or if they can make up some track position, perhaps going to the outside early in this race. Right now, I think it's all about track position for what we're seeing here in this opening lap as Minter comes around to lead it. Wyatt Tinsley looking kind of in the 3rd, 4th groove or so. So yeah, it is all about track position right now, Ryan. I don't see a whole lot of saving going on at the moment.
No, not a whole lot of saving. Everybody's just kind of jostling for position, trying to get ahead of the next guy. You see a lot of 3 wide through the middle of the pack. Malik Ray in the middle of 3 wide, no surprise there. But the biggest thing here is just making sure you manage your tires. You know, when you're behind somebody, you're going to really cook that right front up, especially running in that top lane. So if I'm somebody like Falkingham here, I'm going to try and find my way to the bottom as we go on board with Timmy Holmes here behind another 3 wide battle there.
3 wide up front, 3 wide in the back. I saw the 77 at Kerwin put 2 tires in the grass down the front stretch, so those distinct kinks in the quad oval here at Charlotte getting a little bit dicey when they're 3 wide like that, but for the most part, 2 by 2, some places tighter than they were coming to the restart of this race. Is up front, 2 cars clear, now make it 3 clear of the side-by-side. The 97 of Minter slides back at a yellow flag behind the race leaders. Early caution, the 23 of Keegan Leahy, and that right front tire not operating as intended. Right side damage on that car. Something happened to him off of turn 4.
Yeah, that's going to be required repairs for Keegan Leahy. And again, he was one of those drivers that we talked about early on in the broadcast. Several that were behind the 20th place cutoff for their win to make them playoff eligible. Keegan Leahy is one of those drivers, didn't have the race that he wanted at Talladega, and this is not going to help his efforts at all as those repairs early on in the race. Again, there's a lot of time to recover, but he is, I would say, likely going to go several laps down with the damage that he has. So this is going to be a tough one to try and come back from.
Let's wind it back and take a look. Keegan was running in the mid-30s at the time of the accident. That's the 40 car of Dylan Alt behind him, and loosened him up, and that car snapped hard. They both end up with some pretty significant damage for all the chaos up front. That one kind of came out of nothing.
I was about to say, if I were Keegan Leahy, it is lap 4 or lap 3 of a 160 lap race. Ryan, I don't know about you, but I would not be saying 2 kind of words right now if I were Keegan Leahy, because that early in the race to be doing something like that for P last, I mean, that's a little ridiculous right there.
Yeah, that's just shoving the nose where it doesn't really belong, right? You know, it's a matter of, you know, knowing where your nose is, right? And, you know, obviously just a mistake on their part there, but, you know, it's tough, especially when it's on lap 4 or lap 3 of 160. It's just a game of being there at the end. You know, to finish first, as they always say, you must first finish.
Longest race of the year, too, and it started hot and heavy. Keegan Leahy, of course, already involved in this accident, drops down. Yes, he does have that race win from Las Vegas, but Blake, it was the point that you mentioned earlier, the race win worth nothing if you can't maintain the required position in the standings, and a P40 here at Charlotte would not help his case.
No, it's not. And again, we mentioned the fact that, yes, it is a longer race. He has some time to try and come back from it. We'll see what the damage repairs are and what this race can turn into. But definitely going to be one that even if he gets the best effort he can maybe muster here, is not going to be enough to help him gain on that cut line at all. So that's going to be tough. He's sitting on pit road right now, continuing to make some repairs.
So with one of the top cars on pit road, we'll see if we can get a word. Ryan, let's see if you've got Keegan Leahy on the radio.
Keegan Leahy, tough luck to start this race. Looked like just a little bit of contact from behind. What's your take on what just happened there?
Yeah, car's destroyed. I think I'm out of it for the night. Yeah, it looks like Dylan Alt got into me. I don't know. It looks like he was staring right through my car and didn't see it or something. I'm not really sure. But I didn't bobble, I didn't change my speed. He just slowly creeped up on my left rear and hit me into the wall. So, you know, honestly, kind of glad I ricocheted off it and got him back. I didn't mean to, but yeah, glad he got something out of it too, because that wasn't called for.
Absolutely. We know the tough points position heading into this race. How does this affect how you're going to have to race moving forward, both, you know, on track, but also around him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to race around him, but just got to go for wins, basically.
Absolutely. Well, tough end of your night. Sorry about your luck, and best of luck in the next one.
Yep, thank you.
Season started real good for Ryan Vargas. Got a P9 in the Daytona season opener, a win at Las Vegas. Since then, results of 33rd, 27th, 33rd, 38th, 39th, and potentially 40th here tonight. So an average finish mid to high 30s after that race win is not what he needs if he wants, of course, for that race win to count towards playoff eligibility. And now he's in a scenario where he needs wins, not because they're wins, simply because they deliver the most points, because he has really ended up in a big hole over the course of the last 2 months. So those cars that get involved, Leahy may not return to the racetrack. Dylan Alt was able to get back on track. He does not lose a lap in the number 40 Sunoco Chevrolet, but he does drop down after coming to pit road for some repairs. He will find himself 39th, so last in line on the lead lap, and we'll line him up and try this again. Minter led from pole, but it was quickly Steven Wilson to the race lead. It's going to be Wilson and Parker White on the front row. Early restart from Charlotte. Green flag back in the air. And a much better jump there for Wilson. He's clear of the chaos. Jordy Wilson is not. He is middle of it all in the center of 1 and 2.
And even a little bit further up the road, wasting no time to try and almost go down. Again, it's not grass here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's artificial turf trying to make some moves. Was Caden Honeycutt. He made it 3 wide. They've backed it down to 2 wide, at least for that position. But Malik Ray, a couple of others. We mentioned how aggressive these drivers are going to be trying to get down to the bottom. But, Ryan, you can also kind of use a little bit of that turf here. It almost drives a little bit like cement here. It's something that you can definitely put your left sides on, and it's not going to be it's not going to upset your car by any means in iRacing.
Yeah, I mean, there's no harm, no foul, right, in getting your left sides into that. It's not going to upset the car. It doesn't have, you know, it's not grass, right? It's artificial turf, both in real life, but also in the sim. It, like you mentioned, it kind of has that little bit of an asphalt feel to it. So getting your lefts into there, no harm, no foul. Definitely want to go too deep into it because it gets really bumpy and you can knock you out of control pretty quick. But it's a quick way to just kind of make sure you give yourself a little extra room to the cars out front, because that quad oval really tightens up.
Mentioned that the William Byron Esports cars had started well. There's a look at their 2 drivers right now running inside of the top 5. The 25 of Nick Ottinger outside line currently in 3rd. Tucker Minter to the inside currently P6. That's because to the outside, Falkenham's going to nose in front of their side-by-side battle. Again, these drivers leading the team's championship. It has been William Byron Esports at the top of that pile for most of this regular season. They lead 30 points over Tony Kadan Esports in P2.
And William Byron Esports historically has been a team that has been very consistent over the course of an entire season. Of course, you've had Nick Ottinger over there for a long time, so that's really one driver you don't have to worry about. We know that every race we come to, Ottinger is going to be a factor. But it's been Matt Busa, it's been Tucker Minter recently that's kind of come into this organization, changed things a little bit. There's always been a really strong driver in that 97 too. Think back to Logan Clamp that nearly won a championship with that effort as well. So William Byron Esports always strong. And speaking of strong runs, you can see a couple of JGR Interstate Batteries Toyotas. They're hard to decipher on the racetrack because they look so similar, but right now having a very similar performance for each of those drivers in Zelensky and even Daniel Falkingham, who has had a remarkable turnaround after a really tough rookie season last year.
And one thing that can help is Bobby's got the white lettered 18 on the top side of his race car, Falkingham the red 54s. But other than that, same classic colors. And JGR's another team that has seemingly always had success, always had good drivers. They have yet, though, to claim an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series championship. In fact, it feels like that William Byron team's been dominant at times. They've only got one. We've had 5 different teams win the 5 championships in the modern team era and go in the wrong direction there as Ottinger as he gets split by the 8 and the 11 cars and drops him down to P8.
Yeah, it looked like he just got really loose in the center there. It's really bumpy coming off of turn 4 there, both in real life and here on the sim. And you just kind of saw it in the middle lane, just kind of got jostled up, kind of lost a little bit of speed down the straightaway here. And momentum is so important with these cars, especially here at a mile-and-a-half racetrack. So that little bit of momentum, and he's already down, 2-3 spots in just 1 lap.
Yeah, the 8 machine Honeycutt sticking right there on his inside. The 42 pushed him even off and into the turn, so some aggression for the cars on the outside as they don't want him to hold them up. But 3 wide now further back down the road as we're going to continue at it. That's the 7 Malik Gray being the instigator on the bottom. The 97 and 41 get together. Minter felt like Duval didn't give him enough room. They'll survive 3 and 4 for the moment, but another close call.
And Minter came over to the radio. He said, "Hey, buddy, 3 wide." So he thought he wasn't really given a ton of space right there. And this was kind of the battle that I had my eyes fixed on, as Malik Gray, Dylan Duval, all very close running on the racetrack. And I think everybody kind of trying to settle in right now, kind of migrate towards the bottom, be able to save a little bit of tire. But as you can see, you have to be able to kind of look and be aware of what's going on around you, as Tinsley and Duval both falling back. They nearly hit off of each other. Now Derek Bordeaux's a part of that battle. So single file, I would say for the most part now, is again, I said that, hey, everybody's looking for the bottom. Zelensky is not one of those drivers, and everybody kind of trying to find their own lane and find their own speed here, which again, these next-gen cars and how well they race on mile-and-a-halfs, and certainly being the case here tonight at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
It was a ton of contact with Wyatt Tinsley in the middle of 3 wide. I know a big bobble just to the back of your screen, that 34 Bordeaux and the Love's Travel Shop Ford Mustang. That car got a little bit out of control, was able to reel it back in, but they are really going after it early in this one. Only 17 of 160 laps in the book. Stephen Wilson has led the lion's share as he's been able to pull about a 3 to 4/10 of a second advantage up at the front of the field. Midfield, still some battling going on. A lot of drivers have slipped back, though. Notably, Zelensky's lost 9. Tucker Minter, who started on the pole, has lost 11.
You know what? This is something that's really interesting to me, Blake, and I want you to hit on this because you're really good at these long races. You do a lot of long iRacing races. Tucker Minter here, he started on the pole, started first in this race. We are not even 20 laps into this race, and he's already dropped to outside of the top 10 in P12. How much of this do you believe is him saving, or how much of this is really just a lack of pace?
It's hard to say because, with the speed that team has shown, you would be inclined to believe that it's just that this is intentional on his part, that, hey, I want to be able to save a little bit, maybe perhaps go a little bit longer on a green flag pit stop, that I'm going to save now and I'm going to reap the rewards later. But once you start to get back into 15th, 16th, 17th or so, you may save a lot of tire, but you're not going to make up all of those positions on the back end of a run. You may be able to save a little bit, but if I were Minter, I'd be concerned right now because, yeah, maybe you can stay inside the top 10 if you're going to save and employ that strategy, but 13th, perhaps falling into the clutches of 14th right now, I don't like the looks of that, and that even if you are saving, you might be doing just a little bit too much saving right now.
And way up to the outside that time was the 5 of Novak on board with Tinsley. As things are heating up here in Charlotte, it's early on, but Steven Wilson in control early. It's the longest race of the season. You're watching the Coca-Cola 160.
Before we start our engines,
And all the veterans and those that are serving today.
before the green flag flies,
Get to do what we love because of the sacrifices that were made by our military heroes.
we stop. We listen. We look to the skies. The awe-inspiring roar and thunder. To all those near and far, home and abroad, we thank you, and we salute you with a little noise of our own. Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition, making your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Makoni.
We now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at McConeySetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at McConey Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
We're with Liam after his 4th military move. When being new is starting to get old. We're with Tara during the holidays when she misses home the most. Thanks to generous supporters, we're with all service members and their families who need connection, comfort, and a home away from home. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
And back live from Charlotte, where coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Coca-Cola and Wendy's. Order your favorite freestyle drink tonight with the Wendy's app and get 0 delivery fee with $15 minimum order with the in-app offer. By Logitech. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. By McConey Setup Shop. Our setups, your victories. By the USO. Since 1941, the USO has been strengthening the well-being of people serving in America's military and their families, no matter where their service takes them. By Sunoco. From fueling your favorite NASCAR teams to filling up at the pump, Sunoco is trusted to help vehicles perform at their peak. Sunoco, performance is what we do. And by NASCAR Salutes. The NASCAR industry comes together to honor our heroes and celebrate patriotism by showing appreciation for active and retired service members. Visit NASCAR.com/salutes to learn more. We're trying to work into a green flag run here early at Charlotte. Blake, we touched on it at the top that a longer race means we might see some strategy, and we're definitely seeing it early.
We're seeing a lot of it, and as this run continues to play out, it's been really interesting to see. Again, this is an open setup race. These drivers and teams can elect to do a lot of different things as far as gearing is concerned. And, you know, just under that last break, taking a listen to a number of our different competitors, some that are up front, some that are a little bit deeper in the field, Ryan, it is all over the place in terms of what these drivers are trying to set up to do. Many of these top three, they're staying in fourth gear the entire way around. They're not shifting to fifth. If anything, they're hitting the chip pretty hard getting into turn 3, but they're staying in fourth gear. And I'd say a majority of the field is sticking in fifth gear right now. We have some drivers that are going back and forth, that they're going from fourth to fifth. So there's a lot of different nuances here for not just these drivers, but these teams and the approach that they wanted to take to this race.
Yeah, well, that tells me a lot of those guys who are not shifting are kind of going for just a better handling race car. They don't care about the fuel mileage. They just care about making sure that the car is able to stay under them for this longer run. We know that these cars and these type of races, they like to build to the tight side, as we see a pretty tight battle for the lead here between Parker White and Steven Wilson. But running it in that lower gear definitely just helps you get that rotation through the corner. With the higher RPM through the center, it almost kind of makes the rear end activate a little bit more. You've got some 3 wide battling through for position here. Tight battles all the way through the field. Even though the leaders are all spread out, everybody's jostling for position back here.
So while things are closing in up front, they have just simply not spread out in the middle. I mean, it's been like this from the jump. We had that early yellow, now going on about 25 laps of green flag racing. Since then, not a whole lot of fanning out middle of the road. As you can see through the front straightaway here, a little bit of 3 wide here, a glimpse in the midfield. This is all going on around 20th position or so. Just simply drivers all the way up on the outside, all the way down on the bottom, using every little bit of this racetrack that they can. It's really only in the top 5 or so where we're seeing cars actually spread out and right on cue, battle for the race lead. Parker White has been chasing down Steven Wilson, got to the inside in 3 and 4, couldn't make it stick that time, but he is knocking on the door up front, and he's bringing his teammate Donovan Strauss with him.
And this has been kind of a coordinated effort between these two. Again, Parker White, Steven Wilson, 2 drivers that do a lot of work together kind of on the back end of things, helping to set up for these races. And Wilson has been very committed to the middle. He's allowed Parker White to have clean air on the bottom. This is something that's been going on the last 15 or 20 laps or so. And White hasn't necessarily been desperate to try and make a move past Steven Wilson right now. Again, talking to a lot of these drivers pre-race, they emphasize the importance of the draft in these cars and how working together could be something that would significantly help you even at Charlotte. And I think you're seeing that right here, that Wilson's able to get the momentum off the top side, but Parker White hasn't been trying, even when he's had the opportunity to side draft Wilson and pull him back. And I think that's why you see the separation up front here, aside from what we've had on the bottom. See, White gets next to him, doesn't even try to side draft him and pass him. He's content, at least for the moment, to try and push Wilson, Ryan, and I think not only help himself, but help everybody up here right now, pull away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, but right now, as we see, actually he's going to clear for the lead. Parker White to the lead down the back straightaway here, but that line that Steven Wilson's running, that's very similar to what you see from the real-life racing here. Running with the left sides around that seam, just above it, right there, you kind of see it. He's running that second lane. That's where the track is really, really smooth. This place is known for being very bumpy, but if you can get in that middle lane and kind of ride that seam, it is very smooth there. You're able to apply the throttle a lot more aggressively and carry that momentum better. So I think what Steven Wilson's doing here is he kind of knows he may or may not have kind of burned his tires up a little bit. Now he's just kind of riding where he's at. But one thing I want to mention, aside from these leaders, the guy I was talking about earlier who dropped all the way outside the top 10 is now back in 5th. Tucker Minter back up to 5th place and slowly gaining on your front cars here.
He's trying to crawl back up there. It was a double date up front with Wilson and White battling, Strauss and Kerwin battling, but to your point, as Wilson starts to struggle now, everybody teaming up on the 10 car, lap traffic high. That's going to get in the way of Casey Kerwin, who tried to go high into the corner, had to adjust midway through. The 51 of Strauss does get through and clear for the number 2 position. I would expect now as the 77 of Kerwin goes to the bottom, he will not have too much resistance either, and by the time they get to the center, he's got P3 as well. So Steven Wilson was looking real good, led 34 laps in this race, but has now dropped off to the number 4 spot, and we'll see what Parker White can do as he leads his first laps of the afternoon.
Again, I think this is just kind of a result that Wilson was kind of running in that higher lane the entire time. Probably wore out his stuff a little bit. He's definitely looser than what we see out of the other Williams eSports cars right now. So White going to try and pull away. But again, I think this was a plan with all of these guys up here to try and execute something, execute a little bit here in the draft to try and pull away from the rest of the field. And in that, they've been very successful. It's going to be tough for Parker White to entirely pull away if you have these 3 cars lined up right here. But you could see at the end result, they have about 3 or 4 seconds over the rest of the field. So even though Wilson led a little bit early and maybe struggling right now, it's all about whether they can keep up by the time they come back to this green flag pit cycle.
And as Parker White enjoys things up front, having a career season, we take a look back just a couple of days ago, and Parker celebrated his 18th birthday back on May the 10th. Nice cake from his mom, and he's been having a great year. It's got the, sure, Duracell's happy, right? They even made the branding onto the birthday cake, so that's a commitment to it. But Parker's been having such a good year, and happy belated birthday to him as well. Also, the fact that it's his 18th birthday makes me feel really old, and that's saying something. So amazing to see the young crop of talent that continues to come through this series. Parker White topping that list, maybe, with just how good the year has been so far for him. Could he top it off with a race win? Basically the only thing that we haven't seen out of the 53 car so far. Jumping back now, that's a 6 machine in traffic and Timothy Holmes. Holmes has been chipping away and trying to make up some ground. Started in mid-30s, now he's mid-20s, and trying to get away at that hornet's nest behind him that includes the 41 of Duval.
Timmy Holmes just kind of running his own pace here, running that inside line. Beautiful Castrol paint scheme there on that number 6 machine. Just keeping the left sides just above that yellow line, trying to get down there. You got, oh man, they're sideways behind them. But just, just minding his time, right? You're in the middle of the pack. You're just trying to keep your stuff underneath you. Long race, plenty of time to make up some ground.
And again, a lot of these guys right back here have been struggling. I've seen Garrett Maines hanging on for a number of laps. Again, I think just all the jockeying for track position that these drivers are trying to do. And again, I mean, they're 5 seconds behind the leader right now, but I think this just goes to show you that we've had, about 40 some odd laps on this green flag run since that initial caution. And just look at all of the cars that are on the front straightaway here. Everybody is so close in terms of speed. Here as Boots gets into the back of Matthews. Wack doesn't look like that upset him too much. Is Wack looking like he's going to just be able to get to the outside to do set there and try to make a run. But Busa, somebody we talked about, he started 34th. He's up to the 22nd position. So this has been a net positive run for him and his teammate in Jimmy Mullis as they've tried to make up some ground after not such a great starting spot.
He's Wack right now running just ahead of Seth the Merchant. Those two the highest running rookies in the field, 21st, 22nd respectively. And I have to update that, and Wack just about passed 2 of them in one move. He got around the 55 for Ryan Doucette, tried to go for the 2-for-1, couldn't get around Falkenham, and now Falkenham, the run off of the corner means instead of maybe gaining 2, 99 car might just lose 1. Did mention we're in the second half of the regular season, and if you want all the latest news and updates from the world of eNASCAR, then sign up today by scanning the QR code on your screen and stay on track with iRacing, the official simulation partner of NASCAR. Plenty of storylines, plenty of incredible moments to come in 2024, not only in this Coca-Cola iRacing series, but the qualifier series to get to this level already underway down on that 3rd rung of the ladder. So there is so much going on, and happy that you are all a part of it with us here on iRacing Live. As again, this midfield battle continues on through. We jump up for the battle with Zawak and Code. See that 22 machine of Femi Olautumbosin started 40th. did not take a time in qualifying, but of only 2 drivers who did not secure a time. And to start from the rear, he is by far and large the biggest mover at plus 23 spots.
Very impressive run there, just biding his time. You know, it's lap 48 of the run. No cars have pitted, right? So he's obviously doing something right. He's keeping the tires underneath him, making sure that the car drives good underneath him, and he's still charged to the front. He's looking to set up Wyatt Tinsley here for a pass here in another few corners.
Tell you what, Honeycutt just about had a moment with Ryan Luza as Honeycutt was a little loose. Luza just almost got into the back of him. That was almost a big moment off the corner. As Honeycutt, who had kind of almost made his way into the top 10, starting to struggle, but a number of big movers. How about Zach Novak, 30th to 8th right now? That is an incredible run that he's had. Michael Koji Jr. just behind him, 22nd up to the 12th position. But Novak, you know, we saw him in Countdown to Green. He was trying to teach everybody how to get around this track. Well, the rest of this field, they should have been taking notes. Up 22 spots in 50 laps. That is awfully impressive.
It's awfully impressive here, but right now I'm kind of looking at Caden Honeycutt here, right? He's dropping through the field, but he's trying some alternate lines. He's running the fence there, trying to get that momentum off the corner, because he knows in a couple laps here we are going to be having pit stops. But Caden Honeycutt's got a truck race this weekend to worry about. He's racing here this weekend in the truck, so exciting for him, but he's got a lot of work to do tonight. Starting to fall back from that top 10, out working back into the teens here, so just trying to keep the tires underneath him and make it to the end of this run.
But we had the opportunity earlier to talk with the Oxygen Esports CEO and co-founder Murphy Vandervelde Jr. And we asked him, especially a fancy-looking car for the 22 FMEL Austin Boson, so we asked him where the design for that car came from.
Yeah, the design for Femi's car originated, and this is kind of a cool story tying in the Oxygen brand as a whole, but it's actually based off of the design that we had on our in-game decal for our Rocket League car. Again, another automotive-based title, again, not related to, but a game that we compete and invest heavily in. It ties into a partner of ours, Gamertech, which is creating a heating and a cooling glove for gamers to help them with carpal tunnel and other wrist and joint-related issues. And the concept was a fire and ice. And so we took some of our branding colors and tried to create this cool fire and ice feel. It worked really well in the Rocket League car. And we thought, how cool would it be having a whole portfolio and a wider portfolio of games to tie our automotive titles, being a Rocket League car and our eNASCAR series car. Let's tie it together, and thus it was born. So you'll actually see a ton of continuity between the two designs.
And we also asked, with the 6 new teams joining the series this season, what was his expectations for the team?
I want to sit here and say that we expect all of our teams to win from day one. But to be really realistic, I think that when we look at a scene, we want to find drivers that, 1, mesh well with the Oxygen brand, 2, and part of that is being very competitive. At the same time, we are new to the scene. We're trying to understand what is rewarded, what is punished when it comes to iRacing, and specifically the eNASCAR series. And so it's to be in the mix. We want to be in the finals, because on any given Sunday, anyone can win through. And so I think, obviously, we've had a couple of results this year that came down to the wire. There were some wrecks. But I think both the guys have done a phenomenal job of stepping above where their previous placements have been. And our goal this year is to be in the mix and be there in the finals and let the cards fall where they might when the checkered flag is waved.
So we thank Murphy for his time. It's been a pretty respectable season for them thus far. Led by Zach Novak, 13th in the standings. They sit 12th in the team standings. But pit stops are underway. We've already seen some big names come down, and the radio is lit up with cars that are pitting this time. It includes race leader Parker White to pit road.
Yeah, a number of drivers have been coming in the last couple of laps. It was really tight there getting onto pit road with Ottinger, Honeycutt, and again, that pit wall really sneaks up on you with the new entrance and the new pit wall that they have there that, again, was added after they started running the Roval here at this racetrack. But so far, so good. We did have one incident between Bordeaux and Dylan Alt as they were entering the pit road. Did bring out a caution, but it gave Dylan Alt a significant amount of damage, so his race may be done. A couple more. You see Femi Olot just behind there. The number 90 is down in the pits, so only a couple of drivers, I would say at this point about 10 or so, that had yet to come down and pit at this point.
Pretty wholesale decision, Ryan. Does that surprise you at all, given how much of the different saving opportunities we had seen earlier, or does it make sense given how the fuel windows align with the race lane?
I was going to say, it kind of makes sense to me, right? Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, but we have the two teammates here, Graham Bolin and Wyatt Tinsley. You see Graham pull off here now, leaving Tinsley out all on his own, but, you know, it's all about just making sure that you manage the race. Oh, we have a yellow flag.
Caution in the middle of pit stops is going to shake this one up. Was it Kerwin? Yeah, the 77
big damage.
Was slow, and that front end has seen better days. Something happened on the front straightaway, and the run order is going to be absolutely mashed up, but we'll try to sort the pieces and figure out what went wrong.
Oh man, that is the one thing you don't want if you're one of these guys who pitted, who's a lap down. You have the 14 as your leader right now. That's going to really jumble up the running order here. As we're going to take a look at what we got here in a little bit, but just definitely going to really mess up the running order.
For what it's worth, Casey Curran was one of the cars who had already pitted, Blake. We always say these laps in the middle of a cycle are always some of the sketchiest, just because you've got so many cars that are either on fresh tires and going full bore, and other cars who are on 40, 50 lap old tires who are kind of limping it around, just trying to get to their fuel number, that it can get really sketchy during that window.
Yeah, that's all that came down to, is you have a number of drivers who are, you know, a second or a second and a half faster at this point in the run, that are trying to make up time, and then cars that are, you know, playing a little bit of that strategy card or trying to hit a certain number on when they're going to try to pit. But, I mean, that was a just really bizarre wreck right there, as it kind of starts with that 36 car that we're going to see kind of a center around. Look at Casey Kerwin. He's the one that gets the worst end out of this. He's pulling up on a couple of cars that have yet to pit, and Kwame Scott in the 36, Tyler Gary in the 42. Then you see Salas coming in there. They just missed some cars that pit, and then Salas, I mean, what are you doing there? I get you have a huge run. Kerwin's having to check up. He's trying to pass those cars, but I mean, if you're going all the way down and you're cutting the turf, I don't know what else you expect to happen, and Kerwin just gets the worst end of it.
Let's get the onboard look for Matt Booth, so you can see the checkup up the road, and then that wreck may happen anyways, even without the 11, as the 36 and the 42 bounced off each other, knocking the 36 down into the door of the 77. But I know, Ryan, you had mentioned you could use a little bit of that turf, but Salas was a whole 2.5 lanes into the restart zone paint.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the wreck could have happened. The wreck definitely would have happened had Salas not been there, but it still would have just been one car instead of a couple cars, or probably bringing out a yellow. He probably would have just spun to the inside, and there probably wouldn't have been a yellow. So Salas being down there in the turf, going, you know, full monster jam across the infield there, that's gonna, you know, that's definitely gonna cause some issues there.
It's a little bit early in the night for freestyle, but some drivers getting a little bit out of control that time. And you can take a look at the last pit stop lap on the scoring pylon. So under the yellow here, we'll see if anybody else will come down. Of course, the 14 is set to Burchett, was the leader at the moment of yellow. He, Wyatt Tinsley, LaPrade, Bias, Gary, and company, they've all come down to pit road. But again, because so many drivers had already completed service and will get trapped a lap down, they will stay out for go service to get a wave around. So DeMerchant pits as one of the last cars, but he doesn't cycle all the way to the rear. DeMerchant currently being shown P7. It's a pretty good net win for those drivers who had yet to pit. And of course, those who suffer are the ones who had already pitted but were trapped one lap down when the yellow came out.
Yeah, and that's going to really put them in some really tight positions here, because, yeah, those guys up front, they're going to be fast enough. They're going to find their way to the front. However, now you're back in traffic. Now you got that dirty air to worry about. Now you got a lot of extra work you have to do on your tires. You know, we saw a lot of guys, saw a lot of comers and goers in that run. So now those guys who were up front leading all those laps in the clean air, they're going to have to do some battling here, and they may get put in some situations that might put them into trouble.
It's like about 18 cars maybe getting the wave around, almost 20 total. So they're all lined up behind the pace car. Your race leader in all of this is that 89 of Garrett Lowe, but again, he's nowhere near that because all the cars in front of him did not pit. They technically, therefore, unlapped themselves. courtesy of that, they are now sitting just technically at the end of the lead lap. So at the one to go, they will all be allowed to pass the pace car, but it's going to be a bit of a mad dash with that many cars. I think for everybody to get around and get set for the restart in just a mile and a half, and there they go. They're going to have to hustle because they've only got a mile and a half until we go back green. For more information on this series and even information on how you could become a driver one day, you can go to iRacing.com/eNASCAR. You'll also find the series schedule, standings, team information, and more. And now we reset after a big turning point and still have almost an entire normal race distance left at just under 100 laps. I don't think this will have a huge impact on strategy because the yellow came out right when we were pitting anyways. It's still likely a one stop from this point on to the end, but people have been aggressive. Something tells me that's not really going to change.
No, if anything, it's just we're gonna have to kind of watch two entirely different races at this point, because you have all these drivers that are going to be on old tires. They're not going to be able to keep up. They're hoping for some type of quick caution here to try and change their fortune and get them back into this race. And you're exactly right. We're not quite at the fuel window yet. If you really saved about as hard as you could, you'd still come up probably a couple of laps short at this juncture. But you give Garrett Lowe, Steven Wilson, Graham Boland some great track position. Colin Bowden's up there. Maybe that's what they need.
Well, this race got turned upside down. There's only two cars in the top 10 who started there. Who takes advantage? Second yellow, going to fall to the wayside. Green flag back in the air for Garrett Lowe, who will get his first lap led under green. Wilson ducks behind in second. He'll be side by side for third behind him.
You see further back, all the cars that took the wave around there, they all had to start single file. So now they're trying to play catch up here. They're all running around each other, trying to pass on the outside, trying to build that momentum. So a lot of cars back there. Basically, the second race, like you mentioned, trying to play catch up.
See a lot of three wide, maybe some smoke. Oh, trouble! Was that the 42 who got sideways? I think they hang on, they scatter through the grass. It was, and a big save to hold it all together for Tyler Gary.
Tyler Gary, Casey Kerwin involved in that, but again, they didn't fully spin and they were off the racing surface, so we stay green. But a long night for Casey Kerwin, of which, again, Kerwin was up in the top 5. He was one of the fastest cars out here tonight, and through no fault of his own, he has just had a horrific night that has come unraveled here. Is now Wilson. Will he try to look for the race lead on Garrett Lowe? Doesn't think about it yet into turn 1.
Wrong place, wrong time. I do want to note neither of those cars, I think, went to pit road, so that quick gather avoids a speeding penalty. They do lose a lot of track position, but so many times we see cars spin down, have to go all the way to pit road to recover it. That time penalty that you have to serve for such could be catastrophic. They at least avoid that, so could have been worse. And here we go now. Steven Wilson trying to close back in on Garrett Lowe. Again, it's the first time we've seen the 89 car leading laps up front despite being in the mix for most of this race. Wilson has led more laps than anybody else at 34. He is eager to get back to the front of the field. Wilson has already been to victory lane so far this season on 2 occasions. Richmond and Dover. The defending series champ has been the best.
On Garrett Lowe, he's just benefiting from that clean air right now. He's got a really fast hot rod tonight, but you know that the benefit of clean air does wonders to your race car, no matter who you are, right? And so he's going to be trying to fight as hard as he can to stay up here without burning his stuff up. But there's also a reason why Steven Wilson's our points leader, right? He's challenging for the lead. He's consistently in that top 5, top 3 leading laps. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple laps here he's back on Garrett Lowe's rear bumper here.
We mentioned we might see a lot of red, white, and blue throughout the field tonight with Memorial Day weekend coming up. Let's highlight some of them first with a look at Vicente Salas of the 99, should say, of Matthew Swack of the number 99 car for the Nitro Circus Sim Racing team. Of course, that team headed up by Travis Pastrana. No surprise to see some red, white, and blue on that Ford, looking good.
Gorgeous back again, kind of almost cycled through to the front. You can see the Michigan shirt on. He's a college series competitor, and Caden Honeycutt, who just blew by him, he has a couple lap fresher tires. Again, so many of these drivers took the wave around, and Zwack was one of them.
A lot of chatter as well, seems like on his radio, as He's in constant communication with the team. Some drivers like to chat a lot. Others don't yap quite as much. Every driver may be a little bit different on how much communication they want while they're on the radio. And look at the 48 machine. That is the Price Chopper 48 car of Bram Bolin, chopping to the inside and clearing the 27 machine of Cody Bias in a battle for P5.
See, it's tight racing all the way through here, but everybody's just kind of minding their P's and Q's here, just riding single file. No need to try and push it too hard here, but another guy that I'm keeping an eye on here, Malik Ray, he's kind of been quietly in that top 10 for the majority of the night, just kind of minding his business. He's been in the middle of 3 wide on many occasions here tonight, so he may be one of those guys to start pushing the issue and trying to make up some track position.
You see the big tail that follows your race leaders. Those top 3 or 4 have opened up a bit of a gap, make it top 3. Lowe, Wilson, Tinsley open up a bit of a gap over Michael Guest, the 45 car, who is about 7/10 back. There you see it. You could almost lose those other 3 if you look just at the 45. They've opened up enough of a gap to have some breathing room back to the Hornets' nest behind them. But Garrett Lowe up front continues to lead. Stephen Wilson hounds him. The 10 car was very good early in the last run, then really started to fall off the deeper we get. Has the 10 learned any lessons? Will he approach differently? He's been on the attack from the get-go, so obviously hasn't spooked him from pushing the race car, but just how hard does the 10 go with those lessons learned?
Yeah, if I'm Stephen Wilson here, like, you're looking at that last run, how far you fell after that run. You just want to make sure you keep your tires underneath you, Blake.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. He learned from that first run. He's got somebody behind him who could potentially help him. We heard Graham Bolin even saying, hey, I'm working with you a little bit further back. So a little bit of work being done up here to try and kind of settle in amongst one another and say, hey, I'm going to help you if we just don't race each other right now. We'll see who has the better car on the long run. And, you know, that's the other thing that we've been watching here, Ryan. You can see kind of Cody Bias right down there on the bottom in the number 27 car, and just how difficult it has been to kind of complete passes down there, because yeah, we talked about the fact that yes, you could save a little bit of tire down there if you're running down on the inside. Don't know if the track has changed to the point where the outside can kind of do that as well. It's really difficult to complete those passes on the bottom because everybody kind of funnels to the outside. We've talked about how crucial that draft has been, and Bias able to find his way up, but has to lose 3 or 4 spots before he's able to get up in line.
Yeah, it almost seems like the best way to set up a pass here is either to get to the regular quarter panel of somebody and try and make a run around that top side, or get all the way against the wall, set up a massive run down one of the straightaways and look to the inside and hopefully pull a little bit of a slider on him and clear him by the time you get to the center of the corner. So it's just a very difficult place to pass because of that momentum that you get by running that middle to third lane. So just real tight racing all the way through the pack. Everybody's just trying to shuffle for position, but we see Parker White, you know, he was one of the leaders before that pit cycle, before that caution, and now he's just kind of stuck. He can't really go anywhere. He's stuck in that 9th, 10th position there, just trying to find his way back to the front as we see a tight battle for the lead.
You got a good look split screen there, as well as the live team points and the playoff points on the right-hand side. Garrett Lowe currently leading this race, would get race win number 1 of the season. If that can hold, it would be big for him in this as well, especially given how many missed opportunities some of the previous race winners from the year have had with mistakes and dropping out in the points. It has opened up some extra spots. If all those race winners were top 25, you wouldn't see the 97, the 77 above that cut line. So there are many drivers reaping those benefits as we continue to watch the battle for the lead and the mess that is the battle for P8 on the bottom. Those top 3, though, had been broken away by a lot bigger gap. Remember when White was up there and we could see a noticeable gap, 1, 2, 3 to the rest of the field? That's closed in. Malik Ray in 4th has started to bring some pressure. Bolin, Guest with him. It is no longer a 3-car breakaway.
Yeah, I don't know if Garrett Lowe is backing the pace down, but they pulled away early and they are starting to fall back into the clutches of everybody else. Was looking at some of the lap times here, kind of in that second pack, if you want to call it that. It's about 2 or 3 tenths that Colin Bowd and Michael Guest Parker White, a couple of these guys that are hanging out back here, just out on the outskirts of the top 10, they are starting to run down your top 3 or so. So it's going to get really interesting here. You have a couple leaders that may not have such great tires right now. You also have to consider the fact, too, that so much of this change, we had a couple drivers stay out that were on the lead lap. We had a couple pit. So entirely different lines of thinking here in terms of strategy, and we'll see exactly where it all works out. Malik Ray, he's one of the best in terms of coming down onto the pits. He has only he has about 6 or 7 laps in the bag over Stephen Wilson, over Garrett Lowe, and Ray may have a shot to take the lead here. He gets by Garrett Lowe. He's now looking to the inside of Wyatt Tinsley out of 4.
Malik Ray, somebody else who has found success, got that long-awaited race victory in a fixed setup race at the Atlanta Motor Speedway back on March the 12th, but he has been struggling trying to find the consistency since and needs the points for that win to count. He's in the conversation. Briar LaPrade, a little bit further back, has also made some headway, started 21st in this race. He's driven his way up to the top 10 and is very much in this battle as this lead pack has condensed on itself, and they are all over each other right here from P5 on back. 2 rows of 2x2, and LaPrade going to give a shove to Garrett Lowe.
That was a big
downshifting.
Yeah, that was a big run he got off of turn number 4 there. You see what he's doing? He's running that 3rd lane. Oh my goodness. Michael Guest gets loose on the inside, but Briar LaPrade, you can see him. He's running that 3rd lane up there, trying to get that momentum, and then he cuts back down to the middle, getting that run off the corner, but he's...
Oh, he is going to go to the middle. What a move.
See right there, cuts to the middle lane, takes advantage of the track position there, cuts to the inside of Garrett Lowe. Garrett Lowe now just went from the lead. He's probably going to fall out of the top 10 by the end of this lap.
I mean, that's amazing there from LaPrade. The fact that that car can cut through the center of the corner but isn't necessarily loose or near as loose as what a lot of those other drivers were. He split the middle 3 wide. He got a couple of spots. He's a couple tenths faster than your race leaders up here. Malik Ray kind of stalled out after looking like he may take a hold of the race lead, but right now the Birdman Briar, he is flying through the field.
He is on the move, and on the move the wrong direction to Garrett Lowe now to P10. So he has dropped way out of that contention for the race lead as Stephen Wilson has picked things back up. There's a good on-board look with Garrett Lowe as the number 89 car finds himself under attack yet again. And small glance to his left may have given it away, but to the bottom of the racetrack is coming the Ani Jordy Lopez. He's got the 27 behind him. Similar to what we saw with Wilson, aggressive early, struggling later in the run. It has fallen off for the 89 car, and we are only some 25, 24 laps into this run. So it's happened earlier for the 89 car.
And you can see it on the steering wheel. He is sawing at that thing. That car is not driving the way that he wants it to.
Wash it up on the engine at turn number 3, almost 3 wide. Not enough room for Bias to squeeze to the middle. It's the Oxygen 22, Femi Olatunbosun. We just heard the story behind that one. Into the outside out of nowhere. Here comes Donovan Strauss. They'll touch on the inside. And this is all behind Lowe for the moment, but a lot of drivers trying to take advantage. Is there going to be room? More contact. That time up at 2.
And Femi did an incredible job hanging on to that car. And Donovan Strauss, I think he surprised Cody Bias a little bit. You're not often, making a 3 wide move to the outside in the center of the tri-oval here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, but he was able to jump up there, and now he's going to push Garrett Lowe by, but he wants to get to his outside. Lowe's struggling. He's going to look for any bit of clean air he can to try and make his way around. You can see Tucker Minter also trying to utilize the middle lane. He's kind of on the same tire strategy. In fact, came down the same exact lap that Donovan Strauss did. So both kind of in this position here, but right now Garrett Lowe kind of reminds me of what we saw at Wilkesboro a little earlier as Minter up the racetrack gets into the side of Strauss. Do they have enough room to get off of 4? They do. But yeah, Strauss keyed up. I don't think he was too happy about that one. And Minter quickly apologized, said, yeah, I didn't mean to do that.
Isn't it great that you could talk to your competitors next year? I wish we could do that in real life whenever you
Oh man, Garrett Lowe.
Oh man, they're just pushing each other all over through the field here.
My favorite part is we get to listen to all of it. I don't think we can leave it open on the broadcast, but I like that we get to listen in to some of the chatter, tips off some strategy, but also lets us know who's angry and who's not. And a big door slam that time as the 89 car took a shot from Ray Alfala, who got tight on the inside in the eRacer 69 car. So everywhere you look, something's going on. Only going to stay at 2x2. The 11 of Salas tried to go high, wide, and handsome. Couldn't do it. Now he'll follow the 89 car past Cape Coral, Florida's Ray Alfala, who will drop back to P17.
I think one of the best things that a lot of these drivers are looking for right now is cloud cover. It has been a hot and slick afternoon in sim at Charlotte Motor Speedway. This cloud cover is going to cool down this racetrack, and a number of these guys that are hanging on, that are loose, I think they're going to welcome this track cooling off a little bit, give them a little bit of grip, allow them to get back to the throttle a little bit better. We saw LaPrade make the move for fourth, so we'll see if he can chase down these top three. And oh, by the way, Wyatt Tinsley up front. Kansas City Pioneers 1-2 right now, running with Tinsley and Graham Boland.
Yeah, it's the Pioneers up front, and we were talking just a few laps ago how Malik Ray was one of the fastest cars on the track. He's dropped all the way back to fifth. Brian LaPrade up to fourth now, so big change of hand up here at the front. But you see the Kansas City Pioneers teammates 1 and 2, Graham Boland, Wyatt Tinsley. Tinsley, your Daytona winner, kind of holding charge of at the front now, trying to control this race.
I'll give Tinsley his due, by the way. I shouted out the fact that Stephen Wilson was a two-time race winner this season and has been probably the best. To Wyatt's credit, also a two-time winner. Just one of them was in the preseason race at Daytona. But he has been to victory lane twice already, once in a points race. It's been a very good start to the year for him. He is looking to become the second points winner of the season. His teammate, though, Graham Boland, out probably the biggest competition right now because he wants to make sure that doesn't happen. The 48 car selfishly wants it for himself. He's got a big run, doesn't make a move yet. Boland yet to lead a lap so far tonight, has dug his way out of a 39th place spot on the grid. Can he get all the way to the top spot on the scoring pylon? That time by now less than 70 laps to go.
And this is a good visual representation of that top lane to the bottom lane as, well, Graham changes his lane for the first time in 3 laps, but you can see it right there. He closes up to the rear bumper of his teammate Wyatt. He's going to look to the inside, get a good drive off of turn number 2 down the back stretch, dive into the inside. He's going to have him cleared by the center.
What a nice move there from Graham Boland. 69 laps to go. He was able to get a huge run out of turn 4. He carries it into 1 and 2. And now Graham Boland, new race leader here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We referenced earlier the fact that these drivers don't have a ton of tire sets. I think that's why, you know, we've seen the strategy that we did. You had to take the wave around here. A lot of them still have 3 sets laying in the pits. That could definitely still come into factor here with 68 laps to go. But we talked about that fuel window kind of coming up. It's about 65 laps, anywhere between 65 to 70, that these drivers can potentially make it on fuel. So we're kind of in that window now that if you wanted to kind of short stop it a little bit, you could probably come in now and just be on the edge of being able to make it to the end. So if you're one of those guys that are struggling right now with the wave around, Ryan, this may be your opportunity to roll the dice, play a little bit of strategy, and see if you can catch a caution at the right time on the backside of this run.
Yeah, but you're hoping a lot on chance there, right? You know, if I'm the teammates up here, the Pioneers teammates, you know, Graham and Wyatt, you know, we're just going to work together here. We're going to pit on the same lap. We're going to work together. We're going to try and maintain this gap to the cars behind us and just continue building and building and building. Now, if you're the guys further back, like if you're a Femi Olad or a Donovan Strauss or even a Colin Bowden, an impressive run for him. You know, he was hanging on the top 10, just fell back to 12th. But, you know, if you're one of those guys, maybe pitting right now might get you to leapfrog some of these cars, especially if that caution does come out.
But it's a big thing for Graham Boland to be leading this race right now. Entered tonight 26th in the standings. So again, the win important. The points that go with the win even more so. Graham likely in a position with limited races left this season that he would probably need to win in order to get that jump into the top 10 in the standings. So the 48 car doing exactly what he wants to do, and curious if this stays this way later into the run, how much can he rely on his teammate of Ryan Tinsley to either not fight him for it or make life difficult for anybody else who wants to come and fight both of them. We are still far away, though, from that discussion, with over 60 laps and a pit stop away from being in the home stretch. Wilson third. He's been the best car for most of this race as he sits there with 44 lead. But Brad hasn't had a chance up front, but he's been in it for a lot since P4. And Parker White in the number 5 spot, wrecking off at turn number 2.
What a save.
What a save. The 89 car alone, not done yet. Both he and the 6 of Holmes aggressively back up, and are they done? As the 89 takes a look, near miss.
Oh man, Holmes is just hanging on, and Garrett Lowe took a swipe right there that I think was was not going to put the 6 in a good position there as he was trying to gather it back up off of the apron. But that, yeah, sketchy moment for those drivers. And again, that's where, when these guys, they really prove that they're the best in the world. These cars are so hard to save when they get out of shape like that, and we've seen a number of moments tonight. But yeah, I don't think he's done with them. He may try to ship him into turns 3 and 4 right now if he can get a run.
Almost wrecking himself. That's why I questioned, were they done? Because he took a bit of a swing when they got back up there, and he got real sideways off of 4, trying to deliver a message. Curious how long the cooldown period is, but we should keep an eye on these two. It was the 6 who got into the back of the 89 Lowe right here about 3 laps ago. Nearly wrecked both of them. I don't think Lowe has forgiven or forgotten as they stay in line now with the 89 car right in the tire tracks of the 6 ahead of him.
I think that upset him. He wants to get back at him. He's just a little too loose. Heated up the right rear too much. And, I mean, you know, in Garrett Lowe's position, he was running in about 20th when that happened. He's lost a number of spots. But, you know, a caution wouldn't necessarily hurt him at this point. So, right now, I just think, yeah, he upset that right rear tire just a little bit too much to try to get back to Timmy.
Well, and now he's driving angry, too. Now he's pushing way harder, right?
You know what that's like.
Oh, yeah, he's driving angry. He's sliding that thing sideways. He doesn't care about the tires anymore. He's just wanted to see that 6 car get a little bit bigger in his windshield.
Trying to wheel that car to the back bumper of the 99 to probably push it a little bit too much, and now he's under fire from behind. That's the 14 of Seth the Merchant, and he is seen. That car up the road to pull away as the 6 of Holmes now making a pass on the 62 of Matt Busa. That one in a battle for about 24th spot. Taylor Hurst, meanwhile, in the 33 machine. Scored up to number 6 spot. He's another big mover, and he's all over the back of Briar LaPrade. This battle for P5, it's only about 1 second off of the race leaders. What a glow up for Hurst, who started back in 37th.
You can hear him. He got a little bit loose off of 4, and you mentioned it, Evan. He's kind of one of those drivers that late in the run, he's been awfully impressive, trying to make up some spots, and give him his due. Haven't, you know, probably mentioned his name as I'm sure as much as he would like to, but able to make the strategy work, and with 59 to go and a great spot here to potentially have a season-changing run.
He's somebody else who's in a weird spot in points and for a win, Ryan, right? You want the win to be able to get it, but you still need the points position. So if you're in P30 like he is right now in the standings, you can't just go full send for the win because you need a win and to have consistency. So you can't completely risk your strategy like you could if you were 11th, right? Where a bad race isn't going to knock you out of that points requirement. He needs to win, but he also needs good points runs. That's an interesting spot to balance that aggression.
Yeah, I mean, it's the big battle is that top 20 battle. You see Tucker Minter take a big dive to the inside, clears Michael Guest on the top side there. But yeah, that top 20 battle, that's the battle that really matters a lot to these guys. For somebody like Taylor Hurst, you know, your job right now, top 10 them to death. Keep running in the top 10. Keep running the top 5. You know, finish these races. You know, another guy I got my eye on is Michael Guest. I just mentioned as he gets sideways into the door of Femi, drops a few spots there. So it's probably going to make this point redundant, but. You know, he's just kind of holding his own, kind of being right there. He entered this race 20th on that standings list. He is now 15th. The little bit of points he's getting, yeah, he's not having an average night, but an average night can still keep your season alive.
And somebody else who is having a good night tonight is Malik Gray, who entered 21st in the standings. That was not enough for his race win to count towards playoff eligibility, but you saw there that 7 was all of a sudden back up in the mix. That's because he's P7. That is a big swing in the championship. Salas, Cozy, Doucette, Zawak, Lowe, and Busa down pit road. As up front, a pass for the race lead. Parker White going to go back to the top spot.
True exercise and patience here for Parker White, who has methodically worked his way back to the front here. And, well, he probably did it at a time he wished he didn't. Wyatt Tinsley's going to lead this group. He's going to be the first of our leaders to come down pit road. Tucker Minter's going to follow him in as well. 54 to go. Easily going to be able to make it to the end here. So this is what they are hoping may be their last pit stop. How does the rest of this field respond? White, you finally got clean air. You finally think you're going to drive away. But do you want Tinsley to have a couple laps of an advantage when you come back out of the pits? We'll see. Wilson's going to pit.
You see, just
he'll come to pit road from the race leaders, so that's a big move. Now does that force everybody else? White, Bolin, LaPrade, do they have to respond?
I mean, you know, they can. They don't have to. But here's the thing. You know, we saw the speed difference from the cars that pit to the cars that don't. It caused that last wreck with Casey Kerwin. So if you're one of these leaders that's staying out, yeah, you know, you're stretching out a little bit, but you could put yourself in a bit of a tough spot here.
Taylor Hirsch down pit road, the 33 in from P4.
Again, I think with the fact that you have the draft and how powerful that's been, how important it's been to be lined up with somebody that can improve your lap time quite significantly, I actually tend to think that makes going longer a little bit better because you have the tire advantage, you're catching somebody that's on older tires, and then you have the draft that kind of brings you back up to them. So I would say here at Charlotte, not going to see it everywhere we go, but going long is not going to be, I don't think, too terrible here. You're going to see Graham Bolin pit. You can see Femi Olot comes in as well. But right now, Parker White, Briar LaPrade, Malik Gray, a couple of our front runners that are still willing to go a little bit further than everybody else. But again, we'll see how it shakes out if they're able to get on a pit road. And again, at this point, Ryan, it's Charlotte. It's tough to get on. You can't make any mistakes either. It's not a foregone conclusion that these guys are going to have good pit stops. But Parker White looks like he's not going to stay out any longer. Neither is LaPrade.
Man, you can just see the aggression getting to pit road there. You see Parker White lock him up coming down pit road. But there you go. You see some of the leaders that pitted. You see Steven Wilson. He's coming through the field. He's slicing through the field on those fresh Goodyear tires. But, you know, that's the big thing here, right? You know, at the end of these runs, the fall off is so massive. I mean, look at Steven Wilson's flying by them like they're standing still. So having that fresh Goodyear rubber underneath you is going to be important. But with that, the fall off at the end of the run is going to be way more severe for you if you do stay out. Here's Malik. He's going to charge it down pit road. All 4 tires locked up on that number 7 Spire Motorsports machine.
Smoking the tires like it's All-Star qualifying. As he comes on the pit road hot, it's about a 1.5 second speed differential. The cars who have yet to pit and the cars that have, that's the exact formula that led to the last yellow in the middle of our previous cycle of green flag pit stops. Now, through all of this, Alfala, DeMerchant, Scott, Luza, Ottinger, they have all cycled through to the front. Some names that we haven't talked a ton about recently. Alfala straddles that transition. He gets to pit road with a bit of smoke. Scott might have been a touch fast. They got to get all the way down to 45 miles an hour. There's been a couple of close calls.
So Ottinger, one of the few to stay out at this point, but also you got to remember, this is kind of where everything fell apart in the midst of our first green flag run, right? You had a couple of cars that went long, they took the gamble, and it paid off for them that they were able to come down later and get that caution and stayed out in the lead lap. They didn't have to worry about a wave around or anything like that. But Nick Ottinger, you know, he's one of those few that has just been, the strategy has completely worked against what he had going on earlier in the race. So for him, he can probably go, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 6 more laps here. Ryan Luza kind of in the same boat here. Nothing to lose. You had a bad run going. Might as well kind of roll the dice here and hope that something works out in your favor. Maybe you get lucky, you catch a yellow here.
Yeah,
we saw some other drivers benefit Ryan last time by that very same thing, so it's not an improbable thing to think of, but certainly a risk is the 3 wide on the front stretch, and down pit road comes Nick Ottinger.
Yeah, and the big thing here is now there's not many cars out there that have stayed out, right? Now we're looking at, I think it's the top 5 now at this point are the only cars that haven't pitted yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how long these guys go, but they don't really have to worry about all these other cars around them that are still low, right? That could cause incidents. There's only 5 of them. So really the leaders have plenty of time to navigate. They have plenty of room to work. There's not really that much of a sense of urgency to get by those cars in specific. They're trying to catch the cars that may have pitted that 1 lap or 2 sooner.
You see the last pit stop lap shows Wyatt Tinsley, the net leader. Currently 7th spot on the racetrack. 2nd would then be Wilson. 3rd would then be Minter. But they are still waiting on DeMerchant, Luza, Delaney, Duval, Honeycutt, and Gary to come down pit road. And they can go a lot longer if they really want to force the issue. But they are, I think, certainly all eggs in this basket now and trying to stay out as there's now 45 laps to go in this race. And once you find the net leader, they are really spread out. I mean, Tyler Gary's advantage to Caden Honeycutt and Co. on the cars who have yet to come down pit road. They're way spread out. They're not really fighting a ton with each other. Then when you get to Tinsley, it's tight. I mean, it's only a second and a half maybe back to Wilson. It gets tighter and tighter as you go, but Wyatt Tinsley certainly has executed well and would like to see this thing cycle itself through because he's in a fantastic position.
Yeah, and this is where that urgency that I mentioned is. The urgency isn't with catching those cars that haven't pitted. The urgency is catching the cars that have. You want to try and get yourself in position, try and get ahead of them, but then you also run the risk of, hey, there's 43 laps to go still in this run. If you go out there and burn your tires up, well, guess what? You don't have another pit stop to lay on. So this is obviously going to be a very, very difficult time to really strategize how you make this run. As you see the Pittsburgh Knights teammate here really trying to fight here. Currently running side by side, 22nd, 23rd, trying to shuffle themselves out. Really fighting on the wheel. You see Ryan Doucette here, real solid on the wheel. Really tough handling race car out there tonight.
You know, the one thing that I've noticed in the midst of this run, we see those teammates, oh, Bias is out of shape. He's having to save it, use a little bit of the turf. He's going to lose some time. Is the amount of time that these drivers have lost in the midst of pitting. So Wyatt Tinsley, for example, he came down lap 106 right now, and he's kind of the lead of these cars that have pit. Brian LaPrade came down at lap 110, but yet LaPrade lost about 8 seconds or so to Tinsley, and he's got a ton of traffic in front of him. So as far as how drivers are cycling, where exactly you want to be, it looks like short pitting wasn't necessarily a terrible call. Now, is Tinsley going to get caught and probably run down by Steven Wilson, a couple of these guys? Yes, absolutely. He's not going to be able to hold them off, but it seems like going long may not work into the favor, I think, of some of those drivers we saw pit really late in that run, LaPrade and a couple of those others being a few of those that we saw.
So we continue to play the waiting game and see when this cycle of pit stops will finally complete itself as we await on the top 5 cars to still come down pit road and to finish it off. Set the Merchant race leader in this time. That'll hand things off to the 80 of Ryan Luza, who's going to get lap lead at number 1 of the afternoon as he crosses onto the flag stand as the leader. Just an off night for Luza. Hasn't really had a ton for the M80 machine before this pit cycle began. He was running back, I would say, in the mid to low 20s. So again, nothing really to lose for the NASCAR Technical Institute machine. That's why he's taking this gamble.
Yeah, Blake, you hit on it. It looks like I kind of center punched on the nose there. Probably on a stack up at one of the beginning of the run here. And you also see Jonathan Delaney here in the 3 car for Team Dillon. Just kind of minding his business, stretching it out, trying to hopefully catch a caution, maybe get a little lucky here.
Delaney, Honeycutt, then Honeycutt just got passed. He's been passed by Tinsley and Steven Wilson already, and again, trying to play a little bit of strategy here at this point. I think Luza, Honeycutt, they're not going to be able to go much longer. They've pretty much run their fuel tanks dry, and in fact, I think Honeycutt maybe, he looks like he was almost out of fuel. He may be sputtering here off of 2.
67 laps for Honeycutt, Lewis, and Delaney on the same number they are in now. Have they reached the maximum on that run? Looks like staying out will be Caden Honeycutt's machine, but now he's getting swallowed up by the rest of the race leaders. It doesn't matter anyways. And Wyatt Tinsley has cycled through back to the front of the field. The 6 car behind him, that's Timothy Holmes. That is a lapped car, not a factor. You got to go back to Stephen Wilson to find the car in second. So up front, some lap traffic, keeping the race leaders 1.5 seconds apart, and now it's a straight-up fight for the final 40.
Oh, and Guest is into LaPrade on the front straightaway, and LaPrade saves it. Almost thought that it was going to be Honeycutt who was looking to pit there. He doesn't, but we have trouble anyway.
It's Honeycutt. The 8 car did spin in the end after he went down and into the grass. And right when I said it was time for a fair fight to the end, yellow flag number 3 comes out for the only car left on track who had yet to pit.
That was all sorts of sketchy off of turn number 4 there. The field just swallowed up Caden Honeycutt there on those old tires. They were already 2 and 3 wide catching up to him. And so once they got to him, there was nowhere to go really. And it's just a massive stack up. And I'm surprised it didn't involve more cars.
Second time tonight, we get a yellow like that in the middle of pit cycle service. I know there was only 1 car left out there, but played a factor in it, no doubt, with all the other cars being faster. And now, with your leaders having cycled through to the front, but having been out there for 19 laps already, most of the field had pitted around the same time. Do we see them down for service?
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe you have what? I mean, Blake, you can answer this. You probably have what, two tire sets laying in the pits right now? Go ahead, bring it on. Go ahead and bring them up. Yeah, no sense.
Yeah, green flag nature is the benefit that they haven't burned through those 4 sets that we had mentioned might be an issue earlier. The timing of these yellows during the cycles has aided that. So everybody is down pit road for service. They're going to go for probably 4 tires. They don't really need the fuel to the end, but if you want it, you'll take it. It's 2 tires for some of them as we take a second look at what happened with Caden Honeycutt. He was just slow on the bottom. I don't know if he washed up a little bit or the 45 thought he'd yield more. That was the touch, but again, it was the 8 who just couldn't hang on to it in the end. That's what causes the yellow. And it is a mixed bag of strategy. A lot of cars up front. Your top 14 going for 2 tires only, and then 4 tires from there on back.
Well, we talked about it when Vicente went through there. He was able to hang on to it, but when Caden Honeycutt went over the ramp there, over the quarter mile there, he looked like a monster truck just kind of flying through the air, going through all those bumps. I mean, it's so hard to hold on to a race car to go through there. I can attest to it because I have physically jumped an Xfinity car through that. It can really knock you off balance. So really fortunate that it didn't involve many other cars. Caden honestly did a really good job of holding on to it as good as he did. But just a tough situation overall there. Had to throw a yellow though when there was a car in the racing lane.
So now we look to see, was there anybody who really shook things up? Again, it's a almost unanimous decision amongst a lot of the fast cars to go for the 2. Some went with 4. First car on 4 is going to be Taylor Hurst, 15th. Garrett Lowe took 4. He's led a handful of laps tonight, and DeMerchant still being shown as out there. He pitted very late in the previous run, not everybody else who had been 19, 20 laps or so on the run. He pitted only 3-4 laps before the yellows, so he's got some ground to stand on here. He does have 4 tires from that pit stop, but they're going to be about 3 or 4 green flag laps older than the cars around him as we rewind and check back in with our picks from Countdown to Green. Blake Camille going with an Ane-7 to Tucker Minter. He's currently in P5 after starting from pole. Alan Whitwood, Nick Ottinger, the number 25 car, currently 27th. You were rocking with the 88 of Brian LaPrade. He's in between the 2 of them in 18th, or 14th, I should say.
Yeah, and I guess it's just a case of Breyer was looking really, really good there. It just seems that going long on that long green flag run we had is kind of working against him. Finds himself in the 14th position as a result of that. Tucker Minter a really good rebound for him. He was really struggling at one point and kind of falling back through the field. He's been fast all night, but just had some bad track position with that wave around situation. But he's going to be a factor in things. And I got to say, I think Seth the Merchant really has a shot here. I don't think 4 or 5 lap older tires is really going to hurt him that much. And how many times have we seen a gamble like this pay off? It's 30 laps to go. The pay window's opening. Everybody gets super aggressive. We have a number of yellows. We get a couple heat cycles, and perhaps they kind of equalize by the time all of that's said and done. So Seth the Merchant here went so long that he was able to stay out. He didn't get trapped a lap down. So he may be in a really good position here.
So lights out on top of the iRacing pace car. We will go green next time with 31 laps to go in this race. And it is 6 of the top 7 cars in the running order who have led laps already. So despite the inopportune time of many of these yellows in critical portions of the race during pit cycles, in the end, it is some of the very best who have ended up in contention. And to remind you, what's on the line at the end of the year? $100,000 will go to the series champion. Those season winnings only a fraction of the $500,000 in total prize money that'll be handed out over the course of the season. And there is a $3,000 bonus for a segment win that we'll dish out next Tuesday night from Darlington. So as if being at the top level of competitive oval sim racing wasn't enough of a motivational factor, lots and lots of zeros does seem to be a motivator as well. And someone's going to get scrappy, I think, if they're going to find a victory lane here tonight from Charlotte. It is the 14 of the Merchant. Remember, slightly older tires, pitted just before the yellow. He stays out. Tinsley to the outside. 2 tires from there all the way back to P14. And 4 tires for all the drivers in the midfield. Green flag back in the air. It's a terrible start for Tinsley. 4 wide as they head to turn 1.
He missed a shift, and everybody trying to hold on after that. He stacked up the entire outside line, so Tinsley's shot for a race win perhaps goes out the window. Everybody on the inside line going to be able to make up some spots. Everybody fanning, trying to get some position. It looks like they've all sorted it out for the moment.
Parker White, by the way, I think on a black flag, and now race control will review it and clear it. He was begging on the radio for them to clear it. He was penalized because he beat the car in front of him to the line. Of course, it was because of the misshift. He was very adamant. They took a look, cleared it. No more issue for the 53 car as he battles side by side for 4th with Graham Boland. 3 wide, several rows deep when you get back a couple of lanes.
My goodness, that stack up on the restart has completely jumbled up this running order. As you see this, it looks like we're at Talladega going through 3 and 4 here. I mean, you have this order up top. You have a lot of single file, really stretched out racing. Then you have a super speedway on the bottom of your screen here.
And I heard somebody yelling on the radio, is there 3 wide in front? That checks out. He's probably in an uncomfortable position wherever he's at, and yeah, he's right there in the 3 wide. That 70 car on the bottom as he rides in 23rd spot. Up front, still fighting for the race lead. Wilson high. He's going to cut down, try to get a big run to the inside. He looks, the 14 squeezes, but he can't seal him off. Here comes Wilson down to 1. Can DeMerchant hang on that right rear? He cannot. And back to the race lead goes Steven Wilson.
Now DeMerchant's just going to be on defense mode here. He's got those slightly older tires here, so he's not going to fall back too hard. But man, now that you're in that dirty air, it's just going to be the parachutes out, Blake.
It's going to be tough. I just wonder, though, if you're DeMerchant, if you have enough that you think you can stay attached and you can hang on, are you going to let Tucker Minter by? Again, these are 2 really good friends. Is your best shot to win to let Minter by and hope that these 2 up front get racing really hard? We're going to see Minter gets back to Seth the Merchant, going to give him a huge shove that almost gives him the outside line into 3 and 4. So how do these 2 work together? And again, if you're DeMerchant, is my best shot to win to let that 97 car by to try and go up and battle that race leader?
I mean, I would say so. I mean, honestly, you're at this point, you're just kind of trying to hold track position here. Tucker Minter, you see him there. He's running that middle lane, going to get that momentum. And he's going to jump to the outside, actually. Gets to the right rear quarter panel of DeMerchant. He's going to probably have him cleared by the time he gets to turn 3. Yes, he does.
So maybe not willingly, but the 97 does get around that 14 to diversion nonetheless. Could this help the 14's game if they can start fighting in the battle for the race lead? I think diversion's going to have his hands so full with the cars behind that he may not be a part of the battle for the win when it comes down to it, but you never know. The 48 of Bolin trying the same strategy. Wide entry, trying to slice the 48 car down to the bottom. He'll get to the back bumper center of the back straightaway, gives him a touch, stays in line. Both of the Williams Esports cars lined up on the outside with Parker White and the 51 of Donovan Strauss. But Wilson continuing to lead Minter. Minter trying to win this race from pole.
My question here, though, is if you're Tucker Minter, right, you see him running that middle lane, you see him kind of pushing the boundaries of how hard you want to run. You still have 24 laps to go in this race. Do you push and burn up your tires? Because, let's just be honest, 24 laps is still a lot of time to wear out your tires.
And he had a run into 3. I was shocked he didn't take it. He could have definitely poked down to the inside, tried to pull Wilson back a little bit with some side draft into 3, but he didn't take that opportunity. And, you know, I think if you're Minter, you're having to push a little bit to try and get alongside Wilson. You get another chance like that, you can't let it go. You got to be able to take advantage of it. We'll see. And I think this is why it hurts him. It's going to take him a couple laps, if that, to maybe build up a run where he's got another shot at him. So if you're Minter, you can't let those opportunities pass you by. You got to take a run. You got to try and make something happen here with Steven, or else he's just been too strong all day.
And there's a look. Steven Wilson and Tucker Minter first and second. Wilson's led the most laps. Minter has only led 2, despite the fact that he started this race from pole. But he has bounced back, and he is the one applying the pressure. A lot of lean as he tries to almost will that 97 car through the corner. Washed up a good bit in the center of 3 and 4 that time. Again, resets from about 2 car lengths back. Bolin, DeMerchant doing a good job. Then hanging on in 4th, White Low and Olatunbosin, P7. First time we've talked much about Femi in this race. They're all within a second of the leaders. They're side by side back there. That's all out side by side with Garrett Lowe's 89 car and the 33 of Taylor Hurst going to the outside.
Now Minter got high, wide, and handsome through 3 and 4. He's got a run, another run at Wilson here for the top spot. He went all the way to the wall. He's going to go there again in 1 and 2. He gets the throttle down, and if he's not to the outside of Wilson, he's going to have a huge run down the backstretch. Wilson's going to go low to block, but here it is, side by side for the lead. 20 laps to go. Minter trying to take it back. Shades of Dover from a couple weeks ago. Minter's going to slide him, and he'll take the top spot, if only for a moment. Here comes Wilson back down to the bottom as they lean on each other through the tri-oval.
Wilson crossed him over. They got into each other's door. This is going to welcome Graham Bolin to the conversation. Watch the 48 car from 3rd. Minter drives it in hard on the outside. Whoa! Pushes up. There's contact. Minter's into the outside wall. And by goes Wilson for the race lead after they got together in the battle for P1.
Slides up in the middle of 1 and 2, slams Tucker Minter, and now Tucker Minter, you can see the disappointment on his face as he drops all the way back to the 6th position. But now if you're Graham Bolin, you're licking your chops right now. You just saw that contact out there. You know you are in prime spot to take advantage.
Yeah, Tucker just got a little, well, he didn't do anything wrong. Steven Wilson got a little bit tight there. Hard contact with the outside wall. I'm surprised that he's hanging on as well as he is. He's still running back up just outside of the top 5. But as you mentioned, this gives Graham Bolin an opportunity. How about Parker White as Minter almost into the wall again. Contact with Garrett Lowe, and they're going to wreck further back in the field. Caution is out as Colin Bowden is spun around here in the tri-oval. Cody Bias may have gotten a piece of it as well.
Well, things were just as crazy back in the teens as they were inside of the top 10 where we were watching. That's where this accident comes from. That will put a damper on Colin Bowden's night after he worked hard to bounce back from a mid-20s starting spot. He was running the last time by in 13th spot, had done a good job, but let's watch what happens as they come off the turn 4. The 3 wide all the way through the corner. The 62 clears just as they come off the corner. I don't know if the 17 was trying to force that crossover, but they came together after he turned down, and the 62 might have got a piece of the fence.
I mean, that's what it seemed to be. I mean, he may have been clear by a centimeter, if that. Slides up. They do make contact off the corner. And again, it's so tight off the corner.
Hello?
Let's get a word with Tucker Minter. He was in the battle for that race lead. Now he finds himself in 8th. Ryan, you've got him.
Tucker, we saw that really physical battle for the lead there. Resulted in you getting body slammed going into the wall there. Tell us what happened from your perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I race Steven clean all the time. We were having a good battle like we did at Dover, and then he just decided to run me in the wall. So I guess that's how I have to race Steven now. I mean, we raced clean for 30 laps at Dover. We were racing clean right there. I guess he realized that I had him beat with what I did into turn 3, and he was unhappy about it. So just unfortunate. We were in a great spot to keep it rolling, and hopefully this pit strategy helps us out. Maybe we'll be all right, but I got some I got some damage, so it'll be interesting to see if we'll be able to still make good forward progress here.
Well, Tucker, we know we got the speed. We're interested to see how you handle this pit strategy here. So good luck on the rebound, and sucks to see the rough end of that right there.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Well, to his point, he comes down pit road with many other drivers, Blake. Last time we had the yellow, we had seen the cars who had completed the green flag cycle pit. They had about 20 laps on their tires. It was pretty much a unanimous no-brainer decision to come down. This time, though, circumstances have changed. We had also been out there for 20 laps on the tires, but not everybody comes down because time is limited at 15 laps to go. It is a split decision. The top 12 drivers stay out. 13th position on back pit, a majority of which went for 2.
I think we know how this is going to go. This is just going to be absolute chaos, just where kind of those two strategies meet. This is on board from Zach Novak. Again, it was having such a strong run earlier. Colin Bowden, you could see him hardening the wall. And then Cody that has got to be really scary if you're Novak. You don't know if he's going to hit the throttle or where that car's going to go. But that could have been a vicious impact. Novak avoids further trouble there, and because of that, he'll restart. Well, actually, he came down and pit that time, so one of the first cars that did elect to come down and take a few tires that time.
Well, we talked to one driver. Let's talk to the other. Ryan Vargas, you've got our race leader dialed up on the radio.
Stephen Wilson, you've had control of the race for a majority of the night.
Well, you've been
with Tucker Minter. Tell us what happened there.
Yeah, so basically I was just side-by-side race with him hard. It was the same as Dover, you know, we're really close. He threw a slider, he made it work. I crossed him over, and then Tucker is not one to lift before you into the corner, so I was just driving along there and got a little arrow tight out of the corner, but I thought I was holding it low, so my bad if it was my bad, I don't know. I don't have a real in-life spotter tonight, so I'm not really told much information if that was my fault or not. So I'll look after, I'll see. He's obviously pissed, but we'll see what these old tires can do, and hopefully maybe we'll get a yellow or two to help us.
Well, Stephen, best of luck on this upcoming restart here. Make sure you hold on to those tires. It's going to be interesting coming to the green here.
Yeah, thank you.
The tunnel is sealed here at Charlotte like it is at Wilkesboro during the race, and if we'll see anything come of that post-race, maybe not as exciting as what we saw over the weekend with the All-Star race, but Stephen feels like obviously nothing was intentional, said he was sorry if he did cause that one. The opinion on the other end, Tucker seemed pretty convinced that that was the cause of the 10 car, as is tradition, that drivers will never see eye to eye on what happens on track. But here we go. Lights out on top of the pace car. We'll set the scene for you. Going to be 12 laps to go the next time by. Blake, you said it's going to get chaotic. Is there enough time for those drivers on the fresh tires, but outside of the top 10, to make that track position up?
If we go green long enough, which that's a big if, you're looking outside about the 6th or 7th row. If you can get a really good jump, if you get a good restart, I mean, Tucker Minter's going to lead that line of cars, but he's got a little bit of damage. Donovan Strauss, Wyatt Tinsley. We'll see how far up they can move. If we get a caution or two, I don't really like their chances that much because, again, you lose a little bit of the advantage through different heat cycles and whatnot. But if we go green here the last 12 laps, I'd be shocked if somebody that stayed out wins this race.
Couple of drivers who have yet to lead laps tonight in the conversation. Taylor Hurst, Femi Alatunbosin, their top 6. Couple of rookies in the top 10 as well. Looking for first career wins in Seth the Merchant and Matthew Zawak. It's all going to come to a head on what could be the final restart of the night. Pace car down and in. Stephen Wilson in control of the field on the inside line. Green flag in the air. It's a great start for the 10 car. Parker White drives through. He looks for P2.
You can see Wyatt Tinsley, he's that first car that has fresher tires. He's going to kind of get trapped here on the top side, but Minter and Tinsley, they look fast. They can go anywhere that they can. They're just going to have to look for open space, and they're going to find it. Minter to the inside of Garrett Maines. Somehow they're 3 wide there. I don't know how they're making that work. And Zelensky gets loose. Minter gets taken out, wins Tinsley into the wall, and the rest of the field is going to spin throughout as the caution flag comes out. And that's exactly where all of that was going to happen, right at the 2 points where we had those tires, fresh tires and old tires.
Well, we may be done with the trips to the super speedways this year with Daytona, Talladega, and Atlanta in the rear view, but that was a super speedway-esque mess on the front straightaway as it took them all out and they wadded up a ton of race cars. Wilson's big advantage washed away. He would have preferred, I think, to get a couple of laps in with how good the start was. It is notable, though, the 10, of course, was the leader at the moment of yellow. He'll maintain control of the field. But let's rewind that one and watch it a second time.
I mean, you're 3 wide in 2 lanes. I don't know how they made that work as long as it did. And then Zelensky got a little bit loose. Nowhere for Tinsley and Minter to go.
Yeah, I mean, Minter just, squeezed into the inside there. He squeezes just in front of Brian LaPrade there. Then he gets clipped from the rear. Then right there, Zelensky just gets turned and nowhere for the rest of the field to go. Lots of cars involved, flying through the turf.
Jimmy Mullis had a really good escape. The 29 car gains a handful of positions. Let's see what Nick Ottinger saw for the outside. There's his teammate into the outside wall. He's able to sneak through that one and gain some positions. Mullis again had just cleared on the bottom on the 4 tires before they crashed behind him. He restarted as the highest running driver on fresh tires. Let's watch it from his view. He had a touch, and then every single car behind him but the 99. It evolved, and then half of them had to go mow the lawn all the way to turn number 1 to avoid that wreck. Mullis, right place, right time, and the fresh tires gave him the bite to get those couple of passes in turn 4 to be clear of that when it happened.
I hope if Justin Melillo is watching this broadcast right now, I hope he gets a screenshot of like 8 cars going through the air, through the infield there, because when they all hit the quarter-mile track, there are so many cars with all 4 tires off the ground, jumping off the ramp there in the infield. That was awesome.
That was a Crandon start with all the cars jumping through the dirt. That's a land rush start at Crandon is what that looked like.
It looked like the Pro 4s here on iRacing.
Yeah. We've seen some of these drivers jump over to those vehicles, but not what they were hoping to do with all the stakes on the line here tonight. Most of them, doesn't matter how high up in the air they got, probably have okay race cars, assuming they didn't come back to the ground and then spin out. The bumps will be okay if they were able to hold them straight. Again, a lot of drivers lose spots. And to the point on the tires versus no tires conversation, Mullis gains a couple spots. Blake, he'll restart 9th. That is good, but I mean, the yellow itself takes a chunk of laps out of this, which is bad, to your point, for all of those cars.
Well, and I think at this point, too, if you are on fresh tires, you'd rather be on the outside than on the inside lane. If you're kind of trapped down there, there's not really many places to go, whereas if you're on the top side, you can go to the middle. You can kind of, go to the high side if it's open. It's going to be tougher to do from the inside there, and that somehow Wyatt Tinsley is lined up 11th. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that, but he was dead set involved in that wreck, and I think he's still going to restart 11th, so we'll see what happens with him. This is Caden Honeycutt's view of that wreck out of turn 4. I mean, my goodness, just a bevy of race cars, and Oh, man. He barely missed getting clipped there by Matt Busa.
I was not really optimistic when we spooled that replay up. I was like, why are we just going to watch another car get jumped? We get it. And then he got a little bit on the front nose of it, the touch there, but somehow finds a way through. Here's the overhead shot. You can see him sneak by near Dodge for the 34 car there. It's one of the Knights cars through the Bojangles logo, almost on the pit road. I mean, they had to use every little bit of the front stretch and beyond to avoid it. And now we get a chance to collect ourselves and try it again. When we come around next time to 7 laps to go, we will try it once more. Wilson had a very good start last time. It'll be, I think, tricky for the 10 to replicate that because it was just about as good as he could have wanted. He cleared, and then he brought the car behind him inside row number 2. In this case, that's Graham Bolin alongside. The 10 wants a good jump again, and he wants the 53 and the 48 to fight with each other. It's hard to get them twice, but there is the advantage of being the control car. We'll see if Wilson can do it again.
Yeah, but we've seen how strong Parker White has been all night long. So, you know, yeah, he didn't have the good restart that last run, but I think either Graham or Parker White can really have a strong chance at challenging Steven Wilson for the win here if they get a good enough launch.
It's a big if, Blake. If you're the control car on the bottom, what can you do to try to get a good start here? Is it, if I went late last time, do I go early this time? What's going on in the mind of the 10 car right now?
Well, I probably tend to go a little bit earlier because, again, the longer you wait, if you listen to Actions Detrimental with Denny Hamlin, he kind of talks about, hey, the longer you wait, everybody else gets to roll up to the start. So I would tend to try and go early, but also if you can get any help from Graham Bolin, that is going to play a huge factor as well.
Pace car off it in. Let's see what the 10 car does. Look for the 48 from behind. Coming to 7 laps to go at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The 10 does go early in the restart zone. It is another good restart for Wilson. Bolin was no help to the 10 car, but he does pull alongside Parker. Battle for second between those two.
Parker White gets a good drive off of turn number 4. He's going to clear Graham Bolin on that inside lane. So now Parker White, all you're trying to do is set up here, get that momentum, get that big run off of turn number 4. He's going to dive to the inside here. But the tough part is Steven Wilson has the control of that lead there now. He's able to control the air, dump all that air onto the nose. As we have a spinner back in the pack, Ryan Luza.
He's off the racing surface, though. We stay green. Tinsley's hurt.
So no caution, we stay green, 3 wide still, middle of the field, but it is single filed up front. Another car nearly way low. Was it one of the Spire cars who nearly binned it? And now here we go for Parker White, driving down to the line, trying to get to the inside of Wilson. Pretty even for those two. 5 laps to go this time by.
Jimmy Mullis is side by side for the 5th position there. He has the freshest tires in the field. You saw Femi Olat pull a big block to the inside lane down the backstretch here. He's now cleared for 5th. What's he going to do to challenge for these lead?
If we stay green, he is definitely going to get there. That's a big if.
It's a big if. Mullis watching on for the number 5 spot. Femi Olatubosin ahead of him. Femi's got the older tires, so he's blocking the 29 for the moment, and Mullis is trying to push that 22 out of the way. Looks high. Olat's there. Looks low. Now he gets underneath him. Mullis and the 89 of Garrett Lowe coming quick on fresh tires.
He's going to get there. He's going to get a big run off the bottom there. One of the only cars that's able to do that tonight, and that's the benefit of those fresh tires. He's now going to try and set up Parker White for second.
It's to the inside of the 53 car of Parker White, coming to 3 laps to go. Jimmy Mullis using the fresh tires to his advantage. He's got P2 at the stripe, but how long does Parker White hold him up? Not much longer. He's clear for P2.
Garrett Lowe pulls a big slide job in the back there for 4th on Femi Olat.
I was about to say Garrett Lowe has the best opportunity. He's on the same tire strategy. If Mullins gets held up by Wilson, which he does, here comes Garrett Lowe to the top side. He's going to have a huge run. He's going to be forced to push Parker White. 2 laps to go. Mullins looking for a way around, and now Garrett Lowe into the mix as well.
Wilson shut the door in 3 to 4. The 29 looks low again. Can't do it. Now here comes Garrett Lowe. He's clear for 3rd. Wilson slides up. He pushed it too far. New race leader, Garrett Lowe. He comes to second. Can he get all the way to Jimmy Mullis? He's got the lead coming to the white flag.
Garrett Lowe's going to get a massive run off of turn number 4 here in that middle lane. He's going to close to the rear bumper of Jimmy Mullis, but will it be enough to set up a pass?
It's a fair fight now, Blake. Both these cars, fresh tires at the 1 to go.
We're official now. Lowe going to go to the top side. He'll have a huge run off the corner. Good exit for both cars, but Lowe going to use the draft to have a run into 3 for the final time.
One last look. Where do they go? Mullis parks it on the bottom. They touch. Lowe going to push him out of the way to the inside. Side by side. Beating and banging. Locked together to the line. Who's got it? On the inside. Garrett Lowe by 1/1000th of a second gets the win at Charlotte.
What an insane finish. Jimmy Mullis, we thought he was in the perfect spot, but Garrett Lowe just had such a massive run there coming to the white flag.
And
remember the history between these two drivers at Nashville Super Speedway. These two coming down to the line. Lowe thought he got done dirty by Jimmy Mullis, and almost a year later, he returns the favor, but did it cleanly.
Wow.
Garrett Lowe is back in victory lane. This winning moment is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And why not for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series to get in on the year of photo finishes? Garrett Lowe, race win number 1 of 2024 by 0.001 seconds over Jimmy Mullis. Let's wind back the tape and see how it happened. This is your Coca-Cola move of the race. 1 lap to go, fair fight, 2 cars both on fresh tires.
And again, I'm surprised that Mullis gave Lowe the top. He's going to use the draft and all that momentum. You can see he tries to break the draft down the back straightaway, put together a great corner, then right here, returned the favor from Nashville a year ago, gave him the old bump and run here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then locked at the line. Nowhere they could go, and just by the fraction of a nose, one of the closest finishes in series history.
They both came from outside of the top 10 with less than 15 laps to go in this race. Lowe took 4, Mullis took 2. Garrett Lowe ends up on top in the end. It makes it work. It becomes another race winner this season. As we transition to the Sunoco post-race report, we'll get a word with our top finishers. Blake, it includes your race winner, Garrett Lowe.
I don't think Garrett Lowe finished right just yet for the photographers. They're doing a little bit of a burnout. A man who has run plenty of times on the quarter mile here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You're able to get the job done tonight. Take us through that last lap trying to chase down Jimmy Mullis for the win.
Yeah, to be honest, all I could think about was Nashville. I know it's and you don't want to hold a grudge or anything, but man, it's, you know, you work so hard to win these races, and I feel like we got robbed last year. We showed up and kicked butt the rest of the year, and we had a great car tonight. We just, that one caution really bit us, and it cycled us to the back on the green run. So, no, dude, I'm super proud. Big thank you to BS Plus Competition and the Molly Group for being on board this year. This thing is bad fast. All the Legacy guys did a great job setting it up. Just really proud. I know, yeah, probably a little dirty, but I mean, you're here to win the Coke Series. What are you going to do?
Winning is so important, and again, you mentioned that race a year ago where you and Jimmy were racing hard to the end. You thought you got done dirty, and you returned the favor here tonight. But how does this win, now that you got it under your belt, how does this change your season moving forward?
Well, we're in the playoffs, right? So now we can be a little bit more aggressive, I think, on strategy. I think we were a little bit too aggressive on strategy tonight. We tried a few things that may have been a little aggressive. It parked us in victory lane at the end of the night, so I'm not going to complain about it. But now we have a little bit more opportunity to go do that in the future.
And you were 16th coming into this race, just about 11 points ahead of the top 20. I know this opens the opportunity for you to be a little bit aggressive, but in terms of staying inside the top 20, how mindful are you of that?
Yeah, I mean, you still have to be mindful about it. Obviously, falling outside the top 20s into your playoffs. So it'll still be on our mind. It'll still be points racing a little bit, but we still have a little bit of wiggle room now that we do have a win to kind of move around our strategy. And especially as we go to some of these different racetracks over the course of the summer, street courses, Darlington, strategy is going to differ, and we can play it kind of how we want to.
All right, Garrett, we'll let you celebrate it. Congratulations on your win tonight at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody.
Garrett Lowe, a winner tonight on the Sunoco post-race report. On the flip side of that, by 1/1000th of a second, Mullis place. The strategy comes up just a bit short. And I'll kind of ask you the same thing I led off with Garrett. Just kind of take us through that last lap. You're into the clear. Did you think you had it there when you took the white flag?
Yeah, of course. I felt like I was in the best spot possible. And, God, I'm going to replay that one in my head so many times. But, just happy to come away with second. I felt like all night I was trying to fight back from the incident between me and Keister way early in the race. And got bit by the yellow. And then, my crew chief, Bryson Hicksonball, made a great call there to take two and put us in position. That's all you can ask for. I feel like made all the right moves, and, he just was able to get it done. Can't be mad, obviously, with the way that Nashville went last year between me and him. So glad we finished somewhat cleanly there. You'll take that, take the points, and move on to Darlington.
And that you do. You are in a position, at least as things stand right now, to make your way into the playoffs on points if it were necessary. But we're through this first half of the regular season. We're kind of getting down to the nitty-gritty here as far as the regular season concerns before amping up for the playoffs. How do you kind of see this second half of the season going with the speed you've shown in the first, and any tracks that you're particularly looking forward to?
Yeah, I feel really confident about our pace everywhere coming up. Honestly, this is probably the best start to a season I've had in this series. So that's, a lot to be said about that, sitting wherever we are now. I know we came in sitting 10th. So very proud of the effort every single week from our team. And these Treetop Chevrolets are really, really fast. And, it's a pleasure to drive them. Hoping to show up to Darlington next week and have another shot at it. I feel like we'll be really good. So, just super thankful to have this opportunity, and we'll try to get them again next week.
Representing KHI, Jimmy Mullis brings it home in second in one of the closest finishes in eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series history. He brings it home P2. As we continue our coverage here on the Sunoco post-race report, we'll catch up here with our third-place finisher in Parker White. And Parker, a good argument here that you had one of the, if not the fastest car out here tonight. You've been knocking on the door of a win for so long here. What more did you need to try and get it done tonight, and how the cards perhaps didn't work in your favor tonight?
Yeah, I honestly thought that race was mine. I was really feeling the most confident coming into this race, at least before today. I was really busy with the Nürburgring 24 over the weekend, so I was a bit short on prep, but I got on today, and I was actually very quick. I was not expecting that, so my biggest concern was qualifying. Luckily, that ended up playing out well for me. I qualified 5th, and very quickly I found out my race pace was very good. In turn 1, I think I gained at least one spot, and then Steven and I were just able to go right up there and pass Tucker for the lead. So I knew I had a really good chance, and I knew how to race this racetrack very well. So once I took a lead, I knew it was basically mine to win. But unfortunately, we got that caution mid-pit cycle. There wasn't really anything I could do after that. I even drove through the field on those old tires and got back in the lead, and we got another cycle of pit stops, and it just didn't play out for me on that restart after that, where Wyatt missed a shift in front of me, and it's just an uphill battle from there. But really can't complain about a P3. I've had a really good season so far. Just need to get that win.
Again, you're one of the top contenders as far as overall points is concerned. Believe you'll either shake out second or third once all the points are tallied up from this season. But what have you kind of learned through your initial rookie campaign? Because it seems like you have a little bit more of a swagger in your step here in year 2.
Yeah, it's definitely that last season helped me out a lot. When I first got to the Coke Series, it was wow, I'm actually racing with 39 other of the best drivers in the world. And it was kind of a bit overwhelming at first, and it took me a while to get used to it because I always used to watch this series when I first got iRacing and just look at all these guys and just how good they all are. And then that I was finally in the series, every time I'd be in a good spot, mainly qualifying was my biggest issue. I would just get nervous in qualifying and throw my lap. But I actually have the best average start this year, so that's definitely turned around, and that's helped me a lot in points. So learned a lot last year, and definitely I'm taking that knowledge I learned and just carrying it into this year, and so been working out a lot. And I think this race was even a really big step up for me, just of how my season has been so far. I haven't necessarily been like contending for wins, but for sure today I was. So hopefully I can just carry the momentum from here and just go on to next week and try to win Darlington.
All right, Parker, thanks for catching up with us, and hopefully we'll be talking to you more soon here.
Thank you very much. Of course, I have to thank Williams Esports, and I have to thank you guys for the broadcast as well.
A big thanks to all of our top finishers for chatting with us on the Sunoco post-race report. Let's take a look at your full race results. And again, there it is by 1/1000th of a second. Garrett Lowe gets the win over Jimmy Mullis in second. Parker White ends up third. Malik Ray with a P4 result, sneak it in for a good one at the end. Fifth place, Zach Novak as well. Caden Honeycutt had some trials and tribulations. He ends up P6. Stephen Wilson led more laps than anybody else tonight, so he will settle for a P7, but his good year continues ahead of Femi Alontabos and Graham Bolin, and Jonathan Delaney as the highest finishing rookie.
I can't believe that Caden Honeycutt got a sixth-place finish, staying out on strategy. Seth the Merchant was able to hang on with his strategy call for 11th, a run that Cozy really needed, looking for a big payday today in 12th. Nick Ottinger even recovered. Vicente Salas, 15th. Tyler Gary, who was spun early. You know, a lot of these guys kind of in the mid-portion of the field able to take advantage of that late strategy call.
A lot of drivers with some late gains, others with some late losses. You get back into the 20s. The likes of Minter, Alfala even had tried to stay out through some of the pit strategy. Did not go the favor of them. Wyatt Tinsley, already a race winner this year, led 10 laps, but he settles for 30th.
And some tough luck here. Briar LaPrade was one of the last cars that stayed out and didn't work out for him, unfortunately. Matt Busa, who kind of with Jimmy Mullis had raced his way through the field early, was a big mover there, involved in an incident. Ryan Luza, Timmy Holmes, Donovan Strauss, who was running up in the top 5 all night. Tough ending for him, as well as Colin Bowden, who wrecked up in the top 5. Really tough start there for Keegan Leahy as well.
So with that, another one falls into the rearview mirror, and we look forward to the next race. And because we had so much fun tonight, you don't even have to wait for the off week. We are back next Tuesday at iRacing's virtual Darlington Raceway. Not only is the track itself, Blake, such a story, but also the end of segment number 2. So we've got more money and more playoff points to dish out.
Again, it's just Darlington. I love this racetrack. It's everything you want in stock car racing. Old, worn-out surface. You have to save tires. It's hard to have a bad race at Darlington Raceway, and we've seen a lot of really competitive ones here in the Coke Series as well. And Ryan, I know you can speak to it as well about how much you absolutely love that place.
Oh no, Darlington is one of the most fun tracks on the circuit. You get to run multiple lanes through 3 and 4, and then through 1 and 2, you got to put it right on the fence. So it's going to be interesting to see how some of these guys race with a lot of points on the line, some cash prizes for the end of segment 2. So lots to look forward to at Darlington.
Consequential races with every single one that passes, and there are some critical playoff points on the line as we come to the end of segment number 2. But until then, that is it for us here tonight from Charlotte. On behalf of our entire team at iRacing, eNASCAR, and for your broadcast crew tonight, for Ryan Vargas, Blake McCandless, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you all for tuning in and congratulate Garrett Lowe and BS Competition with their first win of their eNASCAR careers. Again, we're back next Tuesday. That's May the 28th at iRacing's virtual Darlington Raceway. That race and every race of the 2024 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively here on iRacing Live. Until next time, good night from Charlotte.